Chapter 706. Oomph, you're too talkative. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. The person who had spoken was sent flying by Linley's slap. His movements were as smooth as flowing water, without the slightest pause, and without anyone noticing at all. Just like that, a cultivator at the peak of the divine monarch realm was sent flying with a casual slap. Bang! PFFF, he flew back 100 meters, forming a perfect parabola in the air. Finally, in the most beautiful posture, his head hit the ground, and his teeth knocked into the ground. At this moment, his body was already at the entrance of the hall. He was battered and exhausted. Everyone was so shocked that they didn't dare to make a move. At the same time, because of his actions, they were able to confirm the strength of this blind youth. This made them feel a sense of danger. They knew that they couldn't afford to provoke such a person. Of course, although the sect had hierarch cultivators like the Grand Elder, they were in seclusion all year round. How could they care about such things? However, at this moment, Linley turned around and looked at Chu Tian with his divine sense. With a mocking expression, he said, "Not bad, Sect Master Chu. You haven't even spoken, and the people below are already so restless. If others didn't know better, they would have thought he was the Sect Master." After he spoke, everyone was speechless. Even Chu Tiansheng and the person who had been sent flying didn't say a word. At this moment, the atmosphere turned solemn and cold. No one dared to speak, and no one dared to make a sound. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly, for fear that their breathing would affect Linley's mood and lead to what had just happened. Time slowly passed. After an unknown amount of time, the silent atmosphere became more and more oppressive. In the end, Chu Tiansheng couldn't take it anymore and broke the silence. "That, fellow Taoist, you see, it was all his fault before. I will definitely be strict with him in the future. However, what do you think of our other matter?" Hearing his words, Linley smiled and said, Sure. In any case, I'm here to help Chu Ci, but what?" Lin raised, but made everyone involuntarily stare blankly, their faces full of doubt. "I can agree to your request. However, other than releasing Chu Ci and Chu Feng, you all still need to help me with something. Of course, this condition, this suggestion. As long as you all agree to it, this Exalted will definitely help you all obtain first place in the alchemy competition." As he spoke, Lin Rei's divine sense locked onto everyone present, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. "Of course, you can choose not to agree to this condition. However, if you do that, I'll forcefully take Chu Ci and Chu Li away. At that time, I'm afraid you'll really be gone forever." With that, Lin Rei led Xie Feng and Chu Ci out the door. He didn't look back, nor did he hesitate. Just as the four of them were about to step out of the door, Chu Tianxing's voice sounded from behind them. "Fellow cultivator, don't be in such a hurry to leave." As he spoke, Chu Tianxing's figure disappeared in a flash. When he reappeared, he was already beside Lin Rei and said in a sincere tone, "You only said that it's a deal, but you still have to tell me the details. You can't expect me to do whatever you want me to do. First, tell me your conditions. If they're reasonable, then we'll consider it a deal. If they're not reasonable, then..." Lin Rei and the others stopped in their tracks. At this moment, the corners of Lin Rei's mouth lifted slightly, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. "I was waiting for you to say that." Lin Rei turned around and looked at Chu Tiansheng. Then, he used a voice transmission to directly enter Chu Tianxing's mind. "Actually, the condition of this suggestion is nothing much. It's just that I want to become the Sect Master of the Talisman Grandmaster, and I'll need your help during this period." "What?" At this moment, apart from shock, there was only shock left in Chu Tiansheng. The Talisman Grandmaster was an enormous sect. He did not know what it meant in other places. However, in his heart, the Talisman Grandmaster was the #1 sect in this place. Although a small sect, like his, was also a refinement sect, compared to the Talisman Grandmaster, the refining ability of the Danzong sect was akin to that of an ant. If they did not possess such ability, then the current 7 sects would likely have to change sections. Someone from such a powerful sect actually told him that he wanted to become the sect master of the Talisman Grandmaster. Chu Tiansheng was completely dumbfounded by these words. Oh, what's wrong? You don't dare? Lin Rei had already mentally prepared himself for Chu Tiansheng's current appearance. However, when he saw Chu Tiansheng's terrified appearance, Lin Rei felt slightly disappointed in his heart. Ew. Chu Tiansheng stuttered in the face of Lin Rei's crazy idea. He did not know what to say. The weakest of the 7 sections, I truly did not expect this. So it's not that the Danzong sect is incapable. It's that you, the sect master, are incapable. Lin Rei's face was filled with disdain as he spoke. You, what about you? Do you only know how to say one word right now? Without giving him a chance to speak, Lin Rei retorted, a perfectly fine sect has been turned into this by you. A perfectly fine disciple was actually filled with elixir poison because of you. If it wasn't for me, I'm afraid he would have died long ago. Chu Tiansheng was even more speechless when he heard those words. He felt extremely guilty about the elixir poison that Lin Rei had mentioned. All right, that's all for now. I'll give you some time to think about it. If you agree, go to Chu Si's purple bamboo courtyard to look for me. If you don't agree, inform me and I'll leave with the 2 of them. With that, Lin Rei turned around and walked out of the hall with the other 3 people. Oh, by the way, even if you don't agree, it doesn't mean that the other sects won't agree. I believe that many people will agree to the conditions I put forward, and many people will want to see that scene. At that time, the 7 sects will probably have to change. Lin Rei didn't use voice transmission to say those words. Instead, he spoke as he walked. His voice became more and more distant until it finally disappeared completely. Alas, Chu Tiansheng, who had been watching the backs of Lin Rei and the others until they disappeared, retracted his gaze and sighed. Then he walked to his seat and sat down without saying anything. Boy, what did you say to that old man just now? Why are you acting so sneakily? Tell me quickly. At this time, Lin Rei had already left the hall. He thought that he could have some peace and quiet for a while. But who knew? Just when he thought that he could have some peace and quiet, Xie Feng's voice sounded. He originally thought that he could have some peace and quiet. Nothing much. I just have nothing to do. Didn't I cultivate talisman Dao some time ago? So, I thought of looking for a sect to play with. When I came here, Chu Ci said that there is a talisman grandmaster here. Moreover, it seems to be the #1 sect. So you set your sights on the position of the sect master of the talisman grandmaster, right? When he heard Xie Feng speak her mind, Lin Rei's heart was instantly filled with fear. You are also troublesome. As long as you say it, let alone a small talisman grandmaster, I will help you even if you want to rule the entire divine world. So, why do you have to do this? Chu Ci and the others raised their eyebrows when they heard Xie Feng's words. They were completely stunned, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. I'm afraid that she is the only one who dares to say this. Chu Ci looked at his fiancée and used his eyes to express his thoughts. Yes, her tone is so domineering. When their eyes met, Yun Kai's eyes seemed to be saying, when will you do this for me? This. Chu Ci naturally understood the meaning behind Yun Kai's words. However, he knew that he would not be able to fulfill such a request. At this moment, Lin Rei did not speak after he heard Xie Feng's words. It was not because he did not want to speak, but because he did not know what to say. Lin Rei could naturally raise her request. However, it would be meaningless if he did so. Moreover, this was a mission given by the system, and it was not appropriate to give special treatment. Of course, the most important thing was that the system had clearly stated that no one could help except for him. Otherwise, why would he not use such a capable assistant by his side? Unless he was a fool. However, he couldn't say anything about the system mission, so he could only say that he was speechless at this moment. Let's go, let's go. Lin Rei's silence made Xie Feng's mood sour instantly. She was in a bad mood. Then, she said to everyone and disappeared in a flash. Lin Rei could only smile bitterly at Xie Feng's action. Seeing that she had disappeared, Lin Rei turned around and said to Chu Ci and Chu Ci, let's go. Go back and have a good rest. After that, come find me. I have something for you to do. Yes, we will do as you say. The two of them did not refute Lin Rei's sudden order and lowered their heads to accept it. However, when they looked up, Lin Rei had already disappeared. Both of them showed a helpless expression. Sigh, let's go, CI. The two of them had nothing to say about this. After all, they were subordinates and could not afford to offend them. Moreover, they were very willing to do whatever Lin Rei asked them to do. Okay, let's go. Just like that, the two of them also left. However, the way they left was very simple. They left on foot. Along the way, they saw the surrounding scenery. Streams, rivers, mountains, and hills. The two of them talked and laughed, just like a pair of young lovers for the first time. They were green and lovely. As the saying goes, when someone is happy, there will naturally be someone who is unhappy. For example, the Danzong Sect's sect master, Chu Tiansheng. At this moment, Chu Tiansheng, who had watched Lin Rei and the rest leave, returned to his seat and fell into silence. His mind was filled with what Lin Rei had said to him previously. Sigh, what should I do? The Talisman Sect is not an ordinary sect. If I take action and succeed, everything will be fine. If I fail, all my efforts will be in vain, and the Danzong Sect may even disappear from the entire world. As the sect master, he does not have the right to make such a decision. After all, he has tens of thousands of disciples who are waiting for him to provide for them. At this moment, Chu Tiansheng was caught in a dilemma. At this moment, there seemed to be two of him in his heart. However, the difference was that the two of them were on opposing sides. One of them was telling him that he had to agree to Lin Rei's conditions. If he succeeded, he would become the leader of the 7 sects. A general success was built on thousands of bones. It was said that a single battle would worry 100 gods. However, the other him was also telling him that if he failed, he would miscalculate and lose everything. In fact, he might even lose everything in the end. These two thoughts had always been opposing each other, and these two thoughts were tormenting him. At this moment, he could not stand it any longer, and his mind was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, the elders, deacons, and protectors below him saw that Chu Tiansheng's face was filled with uncertainty. Sometimes it was distorted, sometimes it was calm, and sometimes it was excited. In an instant, the dissatisfaction in their hearts was suppressed, and they did not dare to say anything. Time passed in the blink of an eye. The sun and moon alternated, and the stars moved. In the blink of an eye, they had been in the Danzong Sect for more than half a month. During this time, Lin Rei could be said to have lived the life he had when he lost his memories in the profound sky continent. Every day, he would wake up to drink and eat with Xiefeng. When he was bored, he would play a few games of chess to liven things up. Occasionally, he would talk about the extreme Tao with Xiefeng. During this time, the two's life could be said to be ordinary. There was no killing like before. Although they were not used to it, the two of them were very comfortable and peaceful. During this half a month, Chu Tiansheng did not come to the purple bamboo courtyard to look for him. Similarly, during this time, Lin Rei had been waiting. On the first day, he was still looking forward to it. On the 5th day, he was disappointed. On the 10th day, he no longer looked forward to it. Now, he no longer had any expectations. He originally thought that the Danzong Sect was Chu Si's sect. It should have been easier to talk to, but he did not expect. This scene was really unexpected. Alas, it seems that he won't come. At this time, in the bamboo house in the purple bamboo courtyard, Lin Rei and Xiefeng sat facing each other. There was a game of chess between them. 2 cups of tea were placed next to them. The fragrance of the tea wafted in the air. However, Lin Rei's face was filled with disappointment. He faced the window and used his divine sense to look inside the house. Sitting opposite him, Xiefeng was different. Lin Rei's face was filled with disappointment and worry. She, on the other hand, was relaxed and full of smiles. She looked extremely happy. If he won't come, then he won't come. Didn't you see how he was at that time? He was scared to death. Do you really think that everyone has the courage and decisiveness like you? It's not that I'm looking down on him. Let me tell you, that Chu Tiansheng, I can guarantee that he definitely won't. He's here. Just as Xiefeng was filled with confidence and patting her chest, the silent Lin Ray opened his mouth. The moment he said those two words, Xie Feng's expression changed. She immediately released her divine sense and found that Lin Ray, who had been crazy for half a month, had arrived. A slap to the face, a real slap to the face, and a very loud one at that. At this moment, Xie Feng deeply felt that she had been slapped in the face. Chapter 707. I think I have something else to do. You do what you need to do. I'll be leaving first. At this moment, the demonic phoenix, who had been slapped in the face, didn't even wait for Linley to say anything. It hurriedly replied, then disappeared from the bamboo hut. She ran so fast. He already knew about Xie Feng's actions, so he didn't say anything. Chu Ci, let your master in. Chu Ci, who had been guarding Lin Ray at the door, was in a dilemma when he saw his master. But Lin Ray's voice suddenly came, which solved his immediate problem. Then Chu Ci smiled and said to his former master, "Master, the young master invites you in." "Okay, got it." Chu Tiansheng didn't find anything strange about Chu Ci's words. After all, Chu Ci was a cultivator stronger than him, so it was impossible for him not to know that he had come. Chu Ci nodded at him. With a smile, he took a step forward and entered the room. Lin Ray, who was sitting cross-legged on the bamboo bed, didn't even turn his head. He had a smile on his face, a cup of tea, and a piece of chess. He looked like an expert who lived in seclusion. The fragrance of tea filled the room. Perhaps it was because it was early in the morning, but the fragrance of grass and bamboo, leaves mixed with the morning sun and the fragrance of tea in the room made Chu Tianxing frown. He couldn't help but close his eyes, and a look of enjoyment appeared on his face. Sect Master Chu, could it be that you came so early just to smell the quiet and secluded air in my bamboo house? At this moment, Chu Tiansheng, who had been affected by the aura in the room, suddenly heard Linley's words. He quickly regained his senses and bowed. "Fellow Taoist Lin, you must be joking." With that, Chu Tiansheng revealed an awkward expression and walked toward Lin Ray. Step by step, he walked with vigorous steps. However, in Lin Ray's eyes, his image was already fixed. Cowardly, timid, afraid of the wolf in front and the tiger behind, as cowardly as a mouse. There was nothing else. Of course, Linley naturally couldn't say such things out loud. On the surface, he still had to be polite to him. After all, he was Chu Ci's master. He had to be polite on the surface. Otherwise, if things became awkward, it would be difficult for Chu Ci to return. Moreover, the most important thing was that if he did this, then it would be hard for both sides to not be afraid of death when they work together in the future. Yeah, you must be joking. At this moment, knowing that Chu Tiansheng was already in front of him, Lin Ray put down the teacup in his hand and looked up with the same expression. I wonder what brings Sect Master Chu here today. Hearing Lin Ray's words, Chu Tiansheng was stunned. He secretly muttered in his heart, "T-Sich, aren't you asking the obvious?" Even though that was what he was thinking, his words were different. They were impassioned and came from the bottom of his heart. "Fellow Taoist Lin, you must be joking." With that, Chu Tian sat down and continued, "Half a month ago, I didn't answer fellow cultivator Jin's question in time. It was my fault. In the past half a month, I've thought about it again and decided, half a month ago?" Knowing that he came from Lin Ray, Chu Tiansheng couldn't let him off so easily. He had waited here for half a month, and now he was going to let him off so easily with just a few words. This was Lin Ray we were talking about. "Oh, that's right. Half a month ago, didn't you say that you wanted to become a talisman grandmaster? I've been thinking about it for the past few days, and I think that it's possible. I wonder." "Oh, so that's what you're talking about." Hearing his words, Lin Ray pretended to remember. However, a sinister and evil smile appeared on his face. "That's right, I wonder—" "Hold on." Just as Chu Tianxing was about to speak, Lin Ray interrupted him. "Grandmaster Chu, what you're talking about is something that happened half a month ago. The conditions that I offered back then were definitely beneficial to your Danzong sect. But you rejected me resolutely and decisively. Initially, I had already given up and wanted to bring the two of them to the array sect to look for a deal. What? Lin Rei's words ignited Chu Tiansheng instantly. No, this fellow Taoist Lin, at this moment, Chu Tiansheng was extremely frustrated. In fact, he wanted to give himself a few tight slaps. In the past half a month, he had weighed the pros and cons of this matter. Be it the pill crafting assembly or the talisman grandmaster, no matter which one it was, there were benefits to be had. And it was a huge one. In the past half a month, he had thought about many things. Just yesterday, he had thought about it. He had wanted to come over yesterday, but he was afraid that he would disturb Lin Rei. Therefore, he delayed his visit. But now, he was extremely particular about the pros and cons. Therefore, when Lin Rei said that he wanted to look for the talisman grandmaster for a deal, he regretted it. He truly regretted it. No. Definitely not. Fellow Taoist Lin, please listen to me. Just like that, a monk began to recite scriptures to him. All sorts of great principles and all sorts of irrelevant matters were all brought to this matter by the dignified sect leader of the Pill sect. Regarding this, Linley adopted the attitude of watching a show. He drank his tea and played chess with himself. It could be said that he was rather relaxed and at ease. Of course, if there wasn't this chattering Chu Tiansheng beside him, it would be even more perfect. Time passed bit by bit. Lin Rei was truly impressed by Chu Tiansheng's eloquence. That little mouth of his was chattering nonstop. Midway through, Lin Rei passed him some tea. However, he seemed to be extremely nervous and afraid, and did not take a single sip. Just like that, he chattered from morning till night. Sigh. Fellow Taoist Lin, look, after talking so much, you should at least express your stance. I've shown you all my sincerity. As long as you say it, Chu Tiansheng, will definitely do it. As long as we can reach a deal, it's fine. Lin Rei, who was feeling sleepy, suddenly heard the chattering sound in his ear disappear. Then, his sleepiness also disappeared at this moment. Oh, my ears finally have some peace. He stretched his body and was about to stand up and leave. However, at this moment, a hand suddenly reached out and grabbed him. Fellow Taoist Jean, look at you. When this voice suddenly appeared, even Linley was a little scared. He was already afraid of this voice. He could keep talking for an entire day. In response, Linley hurriedly responded. Sect Master Chu, it's already dark. Shouldn't you? As he spoke, Linley hurriedly broke free from Chu Tiansheng's grasp and gestured towards the door. This gesture was enough to show what it meant. He believed that as long as he wasn't a fool, he would understand. However, what Lin Rei didn't expect was that Chu Tiansheng would be so shameless. Chu Tiansheng had clearly seen his gesture and understood the meaning behind it, but he pretended not to see it. Lin Rei was helpless about this. Yes, Grandmaster Chu, you're really good. Looking at him, Lin Rei nodded and sat down again with a helpless expression. He said, I can ask for your previous conditions. Of course, the conditions have to be changed. Yes, say it. As long as the deal is reached, and as long as it doesn't endanger the Danzong sect, I'll agree to everything you said. At this moment, Chu Tiansheng's face was full of smiles. The shameless expression from before had disappeared. He had now returned to his old, cunning self. Of course, Lin Rei naturally sensed that he had agreed so readily. He didn't waste any more time and directly said, Actually, it's not a big deal. Actually, the condition I want to add isn't anything big. I just want your Pill sect to help me gather all the information about the Fire sect, Rain sect, Talisman sect, and Sword sect. Of course, this condition may seem simple, but it's actually full of danger. If you don't handle it well, the entire Danzong sect will be implicated and may even be wiped out. Lin Rei's words made Chu Tiansheng fall silent at this moment. However, Lin Rei could see that his eyes were very firm. Lin Rei understood this. The final condition is also very good. The Danzong sect will be the leader of the 7 sects. Similarly, the Xuanzong sect will become your ally. You should know that a venerable great alchemist is very important to a sect that specializes in alchemy. What? Venerable? Venerable great alchemist? That's possible. Nothing is impossible. You should know that there are all kinds of strange things in the world. What you know and see is just a cluster of icebergs in the world. The venerable great alchemist realm is just the current realm. It's not certain how high it will be in the future. At this moment, shock, surprise, joy, anticipation, and all kinds of complicated expressions appeared in Chu Tianxing's eyes. At the same time, his heart to form an alliance with Lin Ray became even more firm at this moment. He was firm, so firm that he wouldn't allow it. How about it? Do you agree? Or, I agree, of course I agree. Before Lin Ray could finish speaking, Chu Tianxing moved closer to Lin Ray with a smile and said in a pleading tone, that, fellow Taoist Lin Ray, you see, next month is the Alchemy Conference. All the forces will gather there to watch the event. Say if a venerable great alchemist comes personally, then, you're dreaming. His appearance made Lin Ray want to vomit. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as him. However, in order to make sure that his life would still be his after 100 years, Lin Ray didn't refuse. Okay, when the time comes, I will ask the venerable great alchemist of my sect to help you. At the same time, you have to express your attitude. I will know everything about the 4 sections. Remember, I want to know everything about their sons, grandsons, and even what grudges they had in their previous lives. What grudges they had with their sons, and even what enemies they have. I want to know everything. As he spoke, Lin Ray's aura changed instantly. A moment ago, it was warm and warm, but the next moment, it was as cold as the Grim Reaper. If you can't do that, I will let you know that I, Lin Ray, don't make deals carelessly. I will let you know that the price of being perfunctory with me will be the death of your entire sect, including your clan, as compensation for my loss. I know. Fear. He, who was in a high position, also knew the taste of fear. For millions of years, he had been living under the protection of his clan and his master. He had lived a very peaceful life. Even if the other 6 sects were eyeing him covetously, there was no danger to his life. But now, he knew the taste of fear. It was so despairing. It was suffocating. At the same time, he swore that he couldn't afford to offend the person in front of him. Similarly, no one in the entire God realm could offend him. As for those who dared to provoke him, they would all meet a hellish end. Okay, as long as you remember. Looking at his current appearance, Lin Ray smiled. Then, he stood up and left the room in a flash, leaving Chu Ci's line of sight. And this deal was made just like that. Although he didn't gain much from it, he didn't care. After all, this was related to his life. So, he felt that it was worth it. If he lost his life, it would be useless no matter how much he gained. After death, everything would turn into nothingness, and he could only turn into a pile of yellow soil. Am I free? At this moment, Lin Ray, who had just left the room, wanted to go out and take a look at the beautiful scenery of the Danzong sect. Perhaps Xie Feng had been waiting for him all this time. Damn, he knew this voice very well and was very familiar with it. After all, they had been together for so many years. Hearing her words, Lin Ray smiled bitterly. Then, he hurriedly turned around. The bitter smile from before disappeared. At this moment, he was smiling and looked very happy. Xie Feng, you didn't go to play? Why? You don't want to see me that much? Oh, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I want to see you? You're a Saint Stage expert. I can't wait to curry favor with you. TSK, forget it. Seeing Lin Ray's reaction, Xie Feng rolled her eyes at him. Then, she said, Kid, don't say that I'm not on your side. The Danzong sect is not simple. Oh, he was already bored to death. When he heard Xie Feng's words, he was naturally tempted and curious. When I went out to play today, I felt a terrifying aura in the back of the mountain. This aura made me feel sick and disgusted. Oh, something that could make you feel fear must be very powerful. Looking at Xie Feng, Lin Ray thought about what she had just said. Suddenly, a wave of curiosity rose in Lin Ray's heart. Oh, you're tempted? Yes, Xie Feng knows me well. He was no longer surprised that Xie Feng knew him well. There's still 1.5 months before the Alchemy Conference. Since I have nothing to do, I might as well go there and take a look. Maybe I can find something interesting. After all, It's too boring here. I can't just drink tea, chat, and play chess for the rest of my days. That's true. Since that's the case, let's go. Anyway, there's nothing to do here. You've already finished your discussion with Old Man Chu. Chapter 708. Amen, you're right. After saying that, the two disappeared from the bamboo house. At this moment, Chu Tianxing walked out of the room. What was different was that he was worried when he entered the room. But now, that worry had disappeared without a trace. Only a smile was left on his face. It could be seen that his problem was solved. At the back of the mountain, Lin Rei and Xie Feng, who disappeared from the door of the bamboo house, arrived at this moment. They looked at the pitch-black surroundings. Occasionally, there would be a few strands of bright moonlight shining on a few places. Damn, don't tell me this is the place you're talking about. Standing at the same place, he released his divine sense to investigate the place, Xie Feng told him. He originally thought that there would be some rare heavenly treasures, but after his investigation, he was 100% sure that there was nothing here. Other than desolate, Lin Rei could not think of any other words to describe this place. Yes, it's here. Previously, I felt that disgusting energy here. Believe me, I won't feel it. Furthermore, that disgusting energy came from the bottom of my heart. After saying that, Xie Feng's face was filled with disgust. A look of disgust. Linley, who had been observing her this entire time, could sense from her eyes a deep sense of disgust from deep within her soul. It was also because of this that Lin Rei became more curious. He could not figure out what kind of energy could make a super expert like Xie Feng feel so disgusted. The silent and tranquil atmosphere, in addition to the sudden chilly wind and the desolate surroundings, for a moment, cold sweat overflowed from his forehead. Damn, what the hell? Lin Rei was embarrassed by his current situation. He was a dignified middle-stage god emperor who had climbed through mountains of corpses and seas of blood until now. Who would have thought that a chilly wind and the surrounding environment would make him nervous? What one feared would come. At this moment, Xie Feng noticed Lin Rei's expression and state. She did not care about her image and burst out laughing. F***CK. At this moment, seeing Xie Feng like this, Lin Rei wished he could find a hole to hide in and never come out. Of course, he knew that this was impossible. For this reason, he could only pretend to be calm. The nervousness and panic from before had been forcefully removed by Lin Rei at this moment. However, as he panicked, some questions that he didn't understand surfaced at this moment. It had been a long time since he felt this kind of panic, except for when he first came to the profound sky continent. Furthermore, this place made him feel slightly suppressed. At this moment, he felt that this place was not as simple as it seemed. He also began to cultivate. He believed in Xie Feng's words. This place contained the energy that made him feel disgusted. However, he didn't know where he was right now. Hey, Xie Feng's voice came out of nowhere. For a moment, Lin Rei, who was deep in thought, woke up with a start. Perhaps his movements were too big, causing Xie Feng to reveal herself again. Hee. Xie Feng's laughter made Lin Rei a little speechless. He had really embarrassed himself today. At this moment, he really wanted to find a piece of tofu and kill himself so that he wouldn't do anything else. Xie Feng, who had lived for a long time, naturally understood Lin Rei's feelings at a glance. Then, Xie Feng, who was smiling a moment ago, became as serious as ice in the next moment. All right, hurry up and tell me. Did you detect that disgusting energy? Is it as disgusting as I said? But at the same time, Xie Feng said helplessly. At the same time, it's also very powerful. No, not at all. In response to Xie Feng's words, Lin Rei told the truth. He really didn't feel that terrifying energy. In fact, he didn't even see a trace of it. However, because of this, he was puzzled. That was why he was puzzled. Logically speaking, although there wasn't any terrifying energy here, there should still be spirit energy. However, there wasn't even a trace of spirit energy here, let alone dense spirit energy. Moreover, when he felt that this place was strange, Lin Rei released his divine sense to explore again. Within 1,000 meters, there wasn't a trace of spiritual energy. On the contrary, outside 1,000 meters, the spiritual energy was very rich. It was rich to the point of being surprising. Moreover, looking at the direction of the spiritual energy flow, it seemed that all of it was spreading in all directions, bypassing this place as the center. In this regard, Lin Ray was full of doubts. Looking at them, it was like a mouse seeing a cat. Good thing, there was something here that made them feel afraid. At this moment, Lin Ray's spirit was tense. He couldn't help but be tense. As the saying goes, if something is abnormal, there must be a demon. Lin Ray believed that these spiritual energy flows were telling him that there was a terrifying existence here, and they didn't dare to come close. That's impossible. How? At this moment, Siefeng, who was standing to the side, heard Lin Ray's words and said to him in disbelief. However, before she could finish speaking, Lin Ray interrupted her and said, "I know what you just said. However, just now I really didn't feel any energy that made me afraid. However, when I thought about it, although there isn't any terrifying energy here, I realized that this place isn't simple. It's very simple. I know that there are all kinds of things that you and I are afraid of." "What? Things that you and I are afraid of?" Siefeng, who was originally a little unhappy with Lin Ray's interruption, was shocked after hearing Lin Ray's words. A trace of doubt and disbelief appeared in her expression. "Yes, I don't know what this thing is at the moment, but you can use your divine sense to explore the spiritual energy fluctuations outside and within 1,000 meters. Moreover, have you noticed that within 1,000 meters of where we are, there isn't a trace of spiritual energy circulating at all?" Oh, after hearing Lin Ray's words, Siefeng didn't waste any time and released her divine sense. In the next second, Siefeng's expression changed drastically. "Ha! How is it? Did you see it?" "Yes, but I didn't feel it before. Now that I look at it, it's really the case." "Yes, not bad." Looking at Siefeng at this moment, Lin Ray smiled and continued, "You have to know that spiritual energy is everywhere. Even if spiritual energy is scarce and thin, there will still be spiritual energy. However, there's obviously none here. Therefore, I'm sure that within 1,000 meters, there must be some kind of existence that can make spiritual energy tremble. This alone is enough to prove that this place isn't simple." "Yes, not bad." At this moment, Siefeng agreed with Lin Ray's words. Then, a look of admiration appeared on her face. "All right, wait here for a while. I'll go check it out. If I find anything, I'll inform you." Before Siefeng could speak, Lin Ray had already disappeared as soon as the word "I" left her mouth. In this regard, Siefeng pulled a long face and was full of complaints. "Humph, brat, you didn't take me with you again. Fine, when you come back, I'll beat you to death." However, in the end, Siefeng could only sit down obediently and wait for Lin Ray's return. Although she had complaints in her heart, at this moment, the worry in her heart far exceeded the complaints in her heart. At this moment, Lin Ray, who had separated from Siefeng, came to the foot of a mountain and explored the surroundings with his divine sense. He was looking for the place where spiritual energy circulated thousands of miles away. He wanted to see how big this place without spiritual energy was. As the saying goes, if you don't look, you won't know. Once you look, you'll be shocked. At this moment, Lin Ray was deeply shocked by this moment. At this moment, the place without spiritual energy was tens of thousands of miles away. It was actually 10,000 meters wide. Seeing this, Lin Ray's heart was filled with shock. The bigger the place without spiritual energy, the more powerful the thing that existed in the place without spiritual energy. In this regard, Lin Ray had no choice but to be careful. He knew his own strength. He believed that the power that could make Siefeng loathe was not something that he could resist right now. Thinking of this, his divine sense instantly increased by countless times. The entire place, without spiritual energy, appeared in Lin Ray's mind. The more terrifying and mysterious it is, the more interested this sovereign is. Looking at the scene in his mind, Lin Ray's face revealed a trace of an interested smile. Not good. This is within the Danzong Sect's territory. They should know of this place's existence. Thinking of this, Lin Rei's face revealed a smile and said to himself, "It seems that the Danzong Sect is not simple." However, at this moment, Lin Rei's thoughts were different. As the sect master of the Danzong Sect, Chu Tiansheng did not know that at this moment, he was excited because Lin Rei had agreed to his deal. At this moment, in the Danzong Sect's main hall, there were 7 or 8 people besides Chu Tiansheng. Most of them were middle-aged, and only 2 of them were old. At this moment, other than Chu Tiansheng, who was sitting in the main seat, the remaining 8 people were whispering to each other and chattering endlessly. "Hey, old man, why do you think the sect master called us 2 old things here? Moreover, the 2 protectors and the leaders that we assassinated are also here. Could something have happened? I don't know, but the sect master summoned all of us here at once. I believe that something big must have happened. Moreover, the assassination of the leaders is a secret force. Under normal circumstances, the sect master would not allow these people to appear in the open. But now, at this moment, the other 6 people heard the conversation between the 2 old men. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a sallow face and a head full of messy hair stood up and spoke with a fierce expression. "Who cares? The sect leader has summoned us, and as the leader of the assassination team, as well as your orders, we have to obey. You lot are chattering away, and the sect leader hasn't even said anything yet. Are you all trying to... All right, let's stop talking." At this moment, Chu Tiansheng, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. His cold gaze swept across the people below, and he spoke in a flat tone. "This time, I gathered all of you here because there is something that I need you to do. This mission is not only urgent, but also dangerous. The risk factor is very high, and there is a high possibility of death. So, everyone, I wonder if this mission will be, we will do our best for the sect until our deaths. We will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire for the sect master. We accept this mission. Sect master, please give us the order." Everyone's words made Chu Tiansheng's heart tighten, but at least he didn't retreat. "Good. Since that is the case, then this mission will be handed over to you all." Saying that, Chu Tiansheng spoke in full detail about the deal with Lin Rei. There was not a single mistake in the middle. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes had passed, and his speech to everyone was coming to an end. "Everyone, you should be clear. You only need to gather all the information about the sect masters of the 4 sects. After that, you don't need to worry about anything." "Yes, we understand." The 8 people didn't hesitate to agree to Chu Tiansheng's mission. Very good. Since that is the case, then go." Looking at them, Chu Tiansheng nodded in satisfaction. He waved his hand at everyone, then closed his eyes and fell silent. Everyone understood Chu Tiansheng's meaning. After bowing to him, they left the hall and walked out. The moment everyone left the hall, Chu Tiansheng, who had fallen silent, opened his eyes. His expression was filled with guilt. "Be careful. You must come back alive." His words were a pity for the people who had already left. They were too far away to hear him. On the other side, Lin Rei, who had already begun his investigation, had a serious expression. Not long ago, when he was 100 meters into the area without any spirit chi, there was no change, but after 100 meters, a faint pressure appeared. The appearance of the pressure made Lin Rei nervous. But he was only nervous about it. He didn't intend to withdraw. But the deeper Lin Rei went, the stronger the pressure became. At that moment, Lin Rei's heart was in his throat. Phew! Feeling the enormous pressure, Lin Rei's expression became more and more serious. He was becoming more and more worried. But the more it was like this, the more curious he became. He really wanted to see just what it was that made the pressure so strong. Thinking about it, Lin Rei couldn't care less. To satisfy his curiosity, he clenched his teeth and stomped his foot. He circulated his cultivation and rushed toward the center as fast as he could. He wasn't very far from the central region to begin with, but because of the presence of the pressure, although Linley was using all of his power, his speed was becoming slower and slower. At the same time, when he was 5,000 meters deep, originally, there was only pressure in the space, but suddenly, a corrosive spirit chi appeared without any warning. Damn, it's demonic energy. Lin Rei was very familiar with this aura. Back in the immortal world, he had practiced the demon race's cultivation method. Moreover, there was still demonic energy in his body. It was just that he hadn't used it in a long time. Now that demonic energy had appeared here, he felt puzzled. Why would demonic energy appear in the Danzong sect? Moreover, this was the immortal world where the demon race couldn't invade. At that moment, all his doubts and curiosity appeared. Kid, don't go too deep. This thing isn't something you can touch now. Just as Lin Rei was hesitating, the little dragon's voice suddenly sounded. At that moment, the little dragon's words made Lin Rei's eyes light up. Since the little dragon said so, it meant that it knew what was inside. Chapter 709. Then do you know, without waiting for Lin Rei to ask, the little dragon seemed to know what he wanted to ask and said, when the sky was opened, there were 3,000 gods and demons. You should know this. Yes, I know. What's wrong? Does the demonic chi here have anything to do with that? Lin Rei was puzzled. Yes, it has something to do with it, and it's not small. Oh? What's going on? Hearing this, Lin Rei's interest was even more intense. The little dragon was not stingy and directly told him about the demonic chi here. In the primeval age, Demon Lord Luo Ho fought with Hong Jun, but unfortunately, Luo Ho could not defeat Hong Jun and was later destroyed. As he spoke, Xiaolong suddenly sighed sadly and continued. When Luo Ho died, he seemed to have expected this. At the moment of his death, he divided his origin into 4 parts and sealed them in the immortal slaying sword formation, the destruction sword formation, and the 12th grade Black Lotus. The remaining trace of origin also escaped when Hong Jun was not paying attention. You can't be saying that this is hearing the little dragon's words. Lin Rei looked at the central area with some disbelief for a moment. He could not believe that there were some popular figures in the primeval age here. The origin of Demon Lord Luo Ho. Yes, that's right. Lin Rei's words made the little dragon smile, and then continued. When Luo Ho was destroyed, the 12th grade Black Lotus was obtained by Ancestor Mingi, and the fairy slaying sword formation and destruction were also suppressed by Hong Jun. Finally, during his 3rd sermon, he gave it to the 3 pure ones, but he did not know that Luo Ho escaped this calamity, but similarly, he did not escape. What do you mean? Lin Rei could not understand the little dragon's words for a moment. He did not understand the meaning behind it. Oh, in other words, although Luo Ho escaped Hongjuan's suppression, he didn't get any benefits. In the end, he even had the intention to escape. After countless years, his origin suffered a destructive nature. After Hong Jun merged with the Tao and became Tendo, he learned about a trace of Rahu's origin. After Hong Jun mercilessly hunted him down, the last trace of consciousness in the origin completely disappeared. As it spoke, the little dragon directly exited the system space and went straight to the central area. It said in a low voice, "The demonic aura here is the strand of Rahu's origin that escaped. Similarly, it has no origin. As long as you can enter it and tame it, it will be yours." However, at this point, just as he was enjoying himself to the fullest, the little dragon's tone suddenly changed. Just a second ago, it was still deep and affectionate, but in the next moment, it was full of viciousness and killing intent. Although you can tame it, if you don't have the strength to do so, then what awaits you in the end is Jiangshi being devoured by it, and then completely devoured by the Rahu's essence, becoming the new demon master, Rahu's Jiangshi. Hiss! At this moment, Lin Rei was completely stunned. He didn't know how many years had passed since the prehistoric era. He never thought that there would be so many powerhouses from the prehistoric era, or even the Hongmeng era, around him. Lin Rei didn't know if it was fortunate or unfortunate, but he knew that he didn't regret it. If it weren't for the system, perhaps he would have been a pile of dirt by now, and no one would remember him. However, he had read a similar novel about Rahu when he was on planet Aqua Blue. Rahu was a mainstream character in the prehistoric era. Why are you scared? At this moment, the little dragon standing in front of him saw Lin Ray's mouth slightly open and was stunned on the spot. It thought that he was scared. Tisk scared. Lin Ray was naturally disdainful of the little dragon's ridicule and contempt. Let me tell you, the word scared does not exist in my dictionary. Oh, is that so? Looking at Lin Ray's strong words, the little dragon almost admired him for a moment. However, the moment the little dragon closed its mouth after speaking, Lin Ray spoke again. However, unlike before, his tone was very firm, but now was very soft. Of course, although I'm not scared at all, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. There's still a lot of things waiting for me to do. I haven't fixed your body for you yet, so I'll take Raha's origin when I'm strong enough. With that said, Lin Ray's heart was filled with reluctance. He knew the energy of Rahu's origin. It was the path of destruction of the great Tao. If he could obtain it, perhaps he could really condense a territory and improve his realm. But after listening to the little dragon's words, he knew that with his current strength, if he wanted to obtain Rahu's origin, he would only end up being devoured and Rahu would be reborn. If that really happened, the entire realm of the gods would fall into a prehistoric era. Although Lin Ray boasted that he was not a good person, if the realm of the gods was destroyed because of him, he would rather give up the energy that could help him break through. To put it nicely, it was for the realm of the gods. To put it bluntly, it was for his friends and family. When the little dragon heard Lin Ray's words, it was completely stunned. It looked at Lin Ray with eyes full of contempt and said indifferently, "All right, since you've decided, then leave. Quickly get your Danzong Sect first place in the alchemy conference, then hurry to the ancient corpse depository. You don't have much time left. Do you understand?" I understand. How can I not understand? Lin Ray's heart warmed at the little dragon's words. He knew that although the little dragon had a poisonous tongue, it was very concerned and protective of him. All right, since you understand, then hurry up and leave. Raha's origin is here. It's very safe. When you're strong enough, I'll tell you. All right, I understand. After saying that, Lin Ray listened to the little dragon's words and did not move forward. Instead, he turned around and walked towards the outside. As for the little dragon, after it warned Lin Ray, it entered the system and did not say anything else. At this time, Xie Feng, who had been sitting in the same place waiting for Lin Ray, was very anxious. This little bastard, he said he would hurry up and come out. It's been so long, and he still hasn't come back. After saying that, Xie Feng stood up and walked anxiously. Her eyes did not leave the place where Lin Ray left. At this moment, she really hoped that Lin Ray would appear in front of her immediately. Could it be that he was Xie Feng who was walking back and forth, began to imagine. Thinking of the energy that made him feel disgusted, Xie Feng became even more worried. No, I'd better go in and take a look. What if that kid is messing around? Xie Feng, who was full of worry, thought of Lin Ray's temper and decided to go in and look for him. All right, aren't I out now? Just when Xie Feng was about to go in and look for him, the voice that she was looking forward to appeared. You, turning around and seeing Lin Ray appear from the other side, Xie Feng was slightly angry. You bastard, why didn't you die in there? You didn't come out for so long. I was going to go in and collect your corpse. At this moment, Lin Ray, who had a calm expression, was stunned when he heard this. His face revealed a look of guilt, and his lips squirmed a few times as if he wanted to say something. However, he did not say anything. Just like that, he quietly used his divine sense to scan Xie Feng, not knowing what to do. Xie Feng, on the other hand, seemed to feel that she had said something inappropriate, so she quickly changed the topic and directly changed the topic. Oh, right. Did you find anything in there? What is that disgusting energy? Have you figured it out? Yes, I found out. Lin Ray was naturally willing to see Xie Feng like this. Immediately, the guilt from before disappeared, and he told Xie Feng everything he knew. 10 minutes later, after listening to Lin Ray's words, she was stunned on the spot. Her face was full of disbelief. Oh no, she did not believe what he said at all. Impossible. This is impossible. How can Rahu still be alive? You don't have to be like this. It is indeed Rahu's origin in there. Besides, Rahu is not the only one who survived from the prehistoric era. Lin Ray did not expect Sief Feng to be so shocked. Moreover, he had never seen Sief Feng like this before. Even Hao Ian back then did not act like this. This showed how much influence Rahu had on her. No, impossible. Rahu, how can he still be alive? At this moment, Sief Feng's eyes were filled with pain. Tears flowed from her eyes unconsciously, and her face was full of sorrow. At this moment, seeing Sief Feng like this made Lin Ray feel inexplicably sad. He could not explain why, but he knew that he should go up and comfort her. Thinking about this, he took a step forward uncontrollably and hugged Sief Feng, whose face was full of tears. He said in a low voice, "It's okay. Everything is in the past. So what if Rahu is still alive? At this moment, he is just a fool with no consciousness. Moreover, when my cultivation is high enough, I will absorb this energy. In the end, this energy will be absorbed by me, and Rahu will die in the end." Sief Feng, who was in Lin Ray's embrace, lay silently in Lin Ray's arms. Her face was full of indescribable pain. At this moment, Lin Ray hugged her even tighter. Time passed little by little. Lin Ray did not know how much time had passed. He only knew that his hands were starting to ache. Phew! Right at this moment, demonic Phoenix, who had been lying quietly in his arms, suddenly understood. Her breathing became much calmer than before. In this moment, Linley knew that she was fine. "Are you okay?" "Yes, thank you," but the moment he heard Sief Feng's thanks, Lin Ray's face revealed a smile. But then, the situation changed completely, which surprised him. He was a little caught off guard. "Although you comforted me, who allowed you to hug me?" Boom! As she said that, Lin Ray, who still did not let go, felt a terrifying energy quietly enter his body at this moment. F***CK. The ancients said that only women and villains were difficult to raise. The ancients also said that a woman's mouth was a liar. At this moment, Lin Ray finally understood what it meant. Although it was wrong of him to hug her without permission, he did not expect Sief Feng to use her cultivation. At this moment, that terrifying energy began to wreak havoc within Linley's arm. Instantly, a heart-wrenching, lung-splitting pain spread throughout his entire body, as though he had been struck by lightning. This is a small price for hugging me without my permission. If it happens again, it won't be so simple. Do you hear me? Lin Ray, who was eroded by pain, heard Sief Feng's words. For a moment, Lin Ray did not hold back at all. He said coldly, just you wait. This is the only time. Even if someone wants to kill you in the future, I won't care about you anymore." After saying that, Lin Ray ignored Sief Feng and sat on the ground. He activated the chaotic heavenly scripture, and the illusory spirit blood fire began to rush toward his hands. As for Sief Feng's energy, although Lin Ray could not catch up to her realm, the only way he could think of to deal with it was his illusory spirit blood fire. Although Sief Feng's level was like heaven and earth, he was confident in his illusory spirit blood fire. Before activating the illusory spirit blood fire, he was confident. After activating it, his confidence grew even stronger. At this moment, the illusory spirit blood fire that Lin Ray had activated to the extreme began to nibble away at the terrifying energy that Sief Feng had instilled. At this moment, after hearing Lin Ray's cold words, Sief Feng, who was standing at the side, realized that she had gone too far. However, it was already too late, and it was already impossible for him to correct it. For a moment, Sief Feng, who was full of guilt, did not know what to do. In the end, she could only stand beside Lin Ray and protect him. This was the only thing she could do now. As for retrieving the energy, that was impossible. She also tried to exchange for her own energy. But after several attempts, the energy that was dormant in Lin Ray's arms did not move at all. It was as if the energy did not belong to her. However, Lin Ray was naturally unaware of this. At this moment, he was using all his strength to adjust his cultivation to refine the energy that Sief Feng had instilled in his arms. During the process, Lin Ray did not dare to be careless at all. Because he knew Xie Feng's cultivation, he had to be careful. This won't do. It's too slow. If this continues, I'm afraid it will take 10 days to half a month. Seeing how slow the refining speed was, Lin Ray became anxious. Devouring Heaven Execution, Whale Swallow. Immediately, the Devouring Heaven Execution's Whale Swallow was activated. Instantly, the speed of a snail before became the speed of a cheetah. Seeing this, Lin Ray smiled. What Lin Ray did not know was that the moment the Devouring Heaven Execution was activated, the spiritual energy within 1,000 meters suddenly changed. A dozen spiritual energy vortexes appeared around him. The spiritual energy that was originally isolated 1,000 meters away seemed to be attracted at this moment and swarmed into the spiritual energy vortexes. Chapter 710. This cultivation method. Xie Feng, who was guarding Lin Ray, looked at the place where Lin Ray was the moment she felt the fluctuation of spiritual qi. She saw that there were more than a dozen spiritual qi vortexes around him. They were like ancient beasts that devoured spiritual qi crazily. There were so many of them, and they lasted for a long time. Xie Feng was shocked by this scene. They were not devouring, but plundering. They were plundering the spiritual qi from 1,000 meters away. There was no spiritual qi in the area, but now there was abundant spiritual qi. Of course, they were not autonomous and did not stay there. They were crazily rushing to the dozens of spiritual qi vortexes around Lin Ray. What cultivation method is this? Why do I feel that it is more powerful than my cultivation method? She opened her eyes wide and looked at Lin Ray, who was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. She muttered to herself in surprise. No, impossible. No matter what, my cultivation method was given by the Great Way after the creation of the sky. Yes, his cultivation method can't be more powerful than mine. Yes, it must be so. Thinking of this, Xie Feng felt a little better in her heart. Although she thought so, she had unconsciously suppressed her own cultivation method. After all, the truth was in front of her. Although she wanted to deny it, she had acquiesced in the depths of her heart. If Ruo Lin knew that Xie Feng thought so, he would laugh out loud. After all, he knew that his cultivation method could not be compared with some cultivation methods that were given by the Great Way after the creation of the sky. Of course, sometimes people's cultivation was not necessarily judged by their cultivation method. Tendo rewards hard work. Even if your cultivation method was strong, if you did not work hard, you would eventually become a pile of mud that could only be trampled by others. Sometimes, even if your cultivation method was weak, you would work 4 or even 10 times harder than others. In the end, you would encounter the wind and clouds and become a dragon, and your achievements would be extraordinary. At this moment, Lin Ray belonged to the former plus the latter. Not only did he have a good cultivation method, but he also worked 10 times harder than before. That was why he had today's achievements. Of course, although there were some elements of threat, his heart and determination to become a powerful expert could not be changed. Now, Lin Ray, who had refined the energy that Xie Feng had left in his body, was no longer crawling like a snail due to the value of the Devouring Heaven mantra. Time passed little by little. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this half a month, the sun and the moon rotated and day and night alternated. Lin Ray could be said to be unwavering. He didn't sleep at all as he refined Xie Feng's energy. Finally, after half a month, the last trace of energy in his body was completely refined. And in this half a month, Lin Ray's cultivation had increased a lot. Xie Feng's energy was equivalent to over 10 years of his usual cultivation. Although it was a disaster previously, it was also a blessing in disguise. Lin Ray was still quite happy in his heart. Just as Lin Ray was feeling happy about refining that strand of spiritual energy, the sound of birds chirping could be heard. At this moment, Lin Ray was even happier. He revealed a smile on his face, then stood up from the ground and casually flicked the dust off his body. And then, after standing up, Lin Ray released his spiritual perception. At this moment, he saw Xie Feng, who was sitting by the side and surrounded by fiery light, cultivating with her eyes closed. Looking at her, Lin Ray's heart was filled with complex feelings. Although he was angry about the energy that Xie Feng had planted in his body, thinking about how he had profited from this disaster, he became a divine emperor. He was a step closer to the late-stage god emperor realm. For a moment, the anger in his heart dissipated. AI, forget it. Looking at her, Lin Ray sighed. Then, without understanding her expression, he walked towards the mountain forest. His movements were light, as if he was afraid that he would disturb Xie Feng's cultivation. Brat, it's fine to just stand here. It's time to go to the alchemy conference, right? At this moment, walking on a mountain forest path, the occasional wildflower fragrance drifted over. At this moment, Lin Ray's heart was very peaceful. At this moment, the little dragon's voice suddenly sounded, instantly interrupting Lin Ray's peaceful state of mind. You really know how to pick the time. Why don't you let me rest? I just came out of cultivation. Tisk. Hearing Lin Ray's words, the little dragon's figure disappeared from his system. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Lin Ray. Looking at him, the little dragon rolled its eyes, as if it had nothing to do with it. I don't care. I just want to remind you that you don't have much time. You have to know that within 100 years, there are 2 missions. If you don't hurry up, I'm afraid that what awaits you is only death, isn't it? A voice filled with helplessness came out of Lin Ray's mouth. At this moment, Lin Ray naturally understood the little dragon's unfinished words. After all, he, the system, and the little dragon had been together for so many years. He already had a rough idea of their temperament. That's right, looking at Lin Ray, the little dragon did not hide anything. Instead, it directly said, as if it was taboo. And I know. Saying that, Lin Ray frowned and shook his head. The previous indifferent and relaxed appearance disappeared at this moment. This matter, I know what I'm doing. Instead of talking nonsense with me, why don't you tell me about the Corpse King level Ancient Corpse and the Ancient Corpse Trove? That system is looking for me. I'll leave first. At this moment, as soon as Lin Ray spoke, the little dragon was stunned for a moment. However, it quickly regained its senses. However, at the moment when it regained its senses, the little dragon pretended to be ignorant and left an insignificant sentence before hurriedly leaving. F*CK. Shameless. Lin Ray did not expect the little dragon to be like this. He also did not expect the little dragon to be so irresponsible. Forget it. If you don't want to help, then don't help. His consciousness looked at the place where the little dragon disappeared. After a helpless sigh, he temporarily threw all the troubles in his mind to the back of his mind. Roar. Just as Lin Ray was silent, a deafening roar of a beast came from the forest not far ahead. In response, Lin Ray, who was awakened, slightly raised the corner of his mouth to reveal a smile and said, "It's you." As he spoke, Lin Ray used his cultivation and teleported. In the next second, Lin Ray's figure disappeared on the spot. At this moment, where Xie Feng was, the flames around Xie Feng, who was in the midst of cultivation, began to converge at this moment. With a soft groan, Xie Feng, whose eyes were tightly closed, slowly opened her eyes at this moment. Phew! Xie Feng, who let out a long breath, slowly stood up. She raised her head to look at the moonlight hanging high in the sky and revealed a relaxed smile. However, at this moment, just as Xie Feng was feeling relaxed, she thought of Lin Ray and immediately turned to look at the place where Lin Ray was cultivating. At this moment, except for a mark, Lin Ray, who was sitting there, had disappeared. What's going on? Where did Lin Ray go? Xie Feng's heart sank when Lin Ray disappeared. At the same time, she kept asking herself where Lin Ray went. How can this be? Could it be? At this moment, she suddenly thought of her previous actions. She couldn't help but associate Lin Ray's disappearance with the energy that she had used on him. Of course, she didn't mean that Lin Ray would die because of that energy. She was afraid that Lin Ray would share the burden with her, because of that energy, and the two of them would no longer have any connection in the future. At this moment, CF Feng panicked. She was afraid and regretful. She was afraid that Lin Ray would leave just like that and ignore her in the future. However, in a mountain forest not far from here, the Lin Ray that she was looking for was currently carrying a huge four-legged demonic beast that looked like a rhinoceros on his back. He was currently walking in her direction. Along the way, Lin Ray was happily singing a little tune. If those old ancestors and disciples of the sects in the outer layer of the divine realm were to see Lin Ray's current appearance, they would probably go crazy. After all, in their minds, Lin Ray was a demon that killed people without batting an eyelid. He was a devil, an Azura, a demon that could lock souls, and a demon that could kill gods and immortals. This demonic beast shouldn't taste too bad, right? Lin Ray, who was walking, turned his head and looked at the demonic beast on his back. For a moment, he was looking forward to the taste of roasted meat. However, he didn't know that because of his sudden disappearance, CF Feng, who had just woken up, was already very anxious. At this moment, CF Feng's entire body was emitting a dispirited aura. Her body was limp as she sat on the ground. Her face was filled with disappointment as she muttered to herself, "Could it be that I really did something wrong?" At this moment, Lin Ray, who was carrying the demonic beast's corpse, had already arrived behind her. However, when he saw her in such a state and her words, Lin Ray's dissatisfaction towards her disappeared in an instant. Looking at her, Lin Ray said, "Yes, you did something wrong. You have the cultivation of the sage realm. I am only a god emperor with a low cultivation. You have such a huge amount of energy. If it was an ordinary god emperor, his body would have exploded and he would have died the moment he was imbued with energy. In the end, his meridians would have been damaged and he would have lost his cultivation. It wouldn't be too much to ask." "Ah, Lin Ray." A scream came from CF Feng's mouth. Whoosh! CF Feng, who was screaming, bounced up from the ground in the blink of an eye. A phantom appeared, and her body was already hanging on Lin Ray's body. Their eyes met. Looking at Lin Ray, CF Feng's dispirited aura and the disappointment on her face completely disappeared. Instead, she was filled with joy. "I won't mess around anymore. I won't." The way the evil phoenix was behaving, combined with her words, caused Linley to be stunned. A hint of redness crept onto his face from the evil phoenix's actions. "Damn, it can't be." Lin Ray, who felt that something was wrong with himself, hurriedly circulated his cultivation technique and forcefully suppressed his abnormality. Kikik, a clear and melodious bell-like sound, entered his ears at this moment. At this moment, CF Feng, who had her hands around Lin Ray's neck and her legs around Lin Ray's body, smiled happily when she felt Lin Ray's abnormality. Although Lin Ray used his cultivation to suppress his abnormality the moment it appeared, CF Feng was a sage state expert. She could still feel Lin Ray's abnormality. Little brother, what's wrong with you? Your heart is beating so fast and your face is red. Are you sick?" At this moment, Lin Ray really wanted to find a hole in the ground to hide in. He knew that CF Feng had already sensed something, and her words had already made the matter clear. However, Lin Ray really did not know how to deal with her. I'm going to roast the meat." After saying that, Linley forcibly activated his cultivation base. A trembling force appeared, expelling the evil phoenix from his body. Then, he fled like a wisp of smoke. Kikik! Laughter sounded again. CF Feng, who was shaken down by Lin Ray's cultivation, did not chase after Lin Ray. Instead, she stood where she was and watched Lin Ray's every move with a smile. Boom! At this moment, Lin Ray, who had escaped, found an open space and took out a dozen spiritual fruits and some spiritual herbs from his storage ring. He stuffed them all into the demonic beast's stomach. Then, the illusory spirit bloodfire appeared and started to roast the demonic beast. Sizzle! The demonic beast that was enveloped by the illusory spirit bloodfire felt uncomfortable. At this moment, sizzling sounds could be heard. Soon, a meaty aroma filled the air, mixed with the fragrance of fruits. On the other hand, the evil phoenix's mouth began to move after smelling the aroma. Its eyes were glued to the roasted meat in the illusory spirit bloodfire. Its drooling face was exposed. After eating, we will immediately head to Jade City to participate in the alchemy conference. After that, I will go to the ancient corpse vault. You will wait in Jade City. The sudden sentence stunned Siefeng. However, she frowned and retorted, "No, I will go with you to the alchemy conference and the ancient corpse vault. Whether you agree or not, I will follow you." At this moment, Siefeng's tone was firm, and there was no room for negotiation. Looking at Siefeng, Lin Rei sighed and said, Okay, don't you. Anyway, if you don't want me to go, I can go myself. You have to know that I dare and will do it." Lin Rei felt helpless after hearing Siefeng's words. Siefeng was right. He could not stop her at all. Sigh. Looking at her, Lin Rei sighed and shook his head. Then, he did not say anything. Just like that, Lin Rei did not stop Siefeng from making her decision. At the same time, he could not stop her. 5 minutes later, a meaty aroma filled the air. After smelling it, Lin Rei quickly put away the illusory spirit bloodfire and turned around to pick up Siefeng. "The meat is ready. Come and eat." After eating, we can go on our way. Siefeng was speechless after hearing Lin Rei's words. However, she still stood up and came to the side of the roast meat. Although his words were unpleasant, the charm of the roast meat had completely forgotten about Lin Rei's words. Chapter 711. Delicious, too delicious. Siefeng sat down and stretched out her hand. Suddenly, a knife made of spiritual energy appeared and chopped off one of the monster's legs. With a wave of her hand, the monster's leg fell into Siefeng's hand. Looking at the goblet of appetite in his hand, the evil phoenix started drooling. Without even thinking, he took a bite. Sizzle! Suddenly, oil splattered in all directions. In her hand, the oil on the monster's leg smoothed out the ice. The giant leg almost fell to the ground. A demonic phoenix's actions completely stunned the nearby Linley. This was the first time he had seen such a bold, unrestrained display of power. However, he saw a satisfied smile on Siefeng's face as she continued to stuff the meat into her mouth. Lin Rei suddenly felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart. This feeling made Lin Rei a little uncomfortable. However, it was undeniable that at the very first moment, Lin Rei wanted to stay in this moment forever. However, the moment this thought arose, Lin Rei immediately killed it in the cradle. He knew that he could not do this. He still had his blindness. His eyes had not recovered, and he had not avenged Hao Yin for destroying his eyes. He had not completed the mission in 100 years, and his cultivation had not reached the peak. He really wanted to waste everything he had done. Moreover, more importantly, if he did not hurry up and complete the mission in 100 years, he would die. He did not want to die. He still had a lot of things to do. He still had to protect his family, his lover, his son, and everything he wanted to protect. Phew. At this moment, Lin Rei thought a lot. Thinking about so many things, Lin Rei felt the burden in his heart become heavier. At this moment, he even felt like he was suffocating. Aren't you going to eat? At that moment, the evil phoenix, who was happily munching on a large piece of lotus flower, suddenly sensed Linley's odd behavior. It immediately stopped eating and turned to Linley. "Yes, you go ahead. I don't really want to eat." At this moment, Lin Rei, who was brought back to reality by Siefeng's words, smiled and said, "Hurry up and eat. Once you're done, we'll leave this place." "TSK, I know you're so long-winded." Looking at Linley, the demonic phoenix no longer paid him any attention. Once more, her gluttonous nature returned, and she simply couldn't stop eating. Lin Rei, whose heart had been heavy because of those heavy burdens, instantly relaxed a little when he saw Siefeng like this. Time passed by slowly. An hour later, the 4-meter-long horned tiger was eaten clean by the slender and beautiful Siefeng. Not bad. At this time, Siefeng, who had just put down the last remaining bone, licked the meat oil on her fingers and nodded with a happy and satisfied smile. Ha. At this moment, Lin Ray was dumbfounded as he watched Xie Feng finish the entire horned tiger bite by bite. Even he would not be able to eat such a huge amount of food, and yet the evil phoenix still managed to finish it. What's wrong? You're not letting me eat this little thing? The look on Linley's face caused the delightful demonic phoenix to feel suspicious. No, I wouldn't dare. With that, Lin Ray stood up and straightened his messy clothes. Then, he lowered his head and said to Xie Feng, "Let's go. Since you're full, let's go back. We've wasted so much time here. It's time to go back to Cheong City." With that, he didn't wait for Xie Feng and walked toward the Danzong Sect's purple bamboo garden without looking back. "Hey, wait for me." Lin Ray's sudden departure caught Xie Feng a little off guard. However, she didn't hesitate. She stood up and released her cultivation. In an instant, she disappeared from the spot and chased after Lin Ray. Demonic beasts usually had the habit of dozing off after eating their fill. Although the evil phoenix wasn't a demonic beast and was a divine beast, it was still a beast. Therefore, a wave of sleepiness surrounded the evil phoenix. In the purple bamboo garden, Chu Xi and Yun Kai sat cross-legged at the entrance and smiled at Chu Tiansheng. "Master, young master isn't back yet. You come here 4 or 5 times a day. How could I lie to you? He's not here again. Then tell me, where did Cultivator Lin go? The alchemy conference is in less than a month. That supreme-level alchemist isn't here yet. Tell me." Hearing her master's words, Chu Xi's smile widened. "Master, don't worry. Young master is very punctual. Since he said he would go, there won't be a problem. Moreover, isn't it just an alchemy conference? I believe young master can win without any effort. You can rest assured." Oh, seeing his disciple's confident face, Chu Tianxing's worry inexplicably lessened at this moment. He knew the nature of his disciple, whom he had nurtured for 1,000 years. However, at the same time, he was worried. After all, this was related to the future development of the sect. "How about this, master? You go back first. When young master comes back, I'll inform you. You see, you keep coming here and I've delayed your matters. I've wasted your time. What do you think?" Hearing this, Chu Tianxing pondered for a moment. Then, he nodded and agreed. "Okay, let's do that. But the moment Cultivator Lin comes back, remember to inform me. Remember. Got it." Seeing her master so anxious, Chu Xi smiled bitterly. "Okay, I'm leaving." Seeing that there was nothing else to do, Chu Tianxing turned and walked out. At this moment, looking at her master's back, the tip of Chu Xi's nose twitched. She quickly stood up and jumped behind Chu Tianxing. She silently followed behind him and sent him out of the bamboo garden. How could Chu Tianxing not know Chu Xi behind him? Tears flowed from his old eyes. He looked just like a parent who was about to part with his child. His heart was filled with reluctance, but there was nothing he could do. Phew! At the door, Chu Tianxing didn't look back. With his back facing Chu Xi, he let out a long breath. After forcing himself to calm down, he said, "Okay, you don't have to send me off. Remember, even if you follow Cultivator Lin, this is still your home. It is, and it will be in the future. I will always wait for you to come back." With that, without waiting for Chu Xi to speak, Chu Tianxing disappeared at the door of the bamboo garden. Oh, at this moment, the teary-eyed Chu Xi couldn't see clearly. However, she still watched her master leave. Chu Xi didn't say anything before he left. But in the next moment, Chu Xi couldn't bear it anymore and let out a cry of pain. "Woo-woo! Master! Master!" At that moment, in Chu Xi's mind, all the scenes of him being together with Chu Tianxing flashed through his mind. She was happy and unhappy. Happy, sad, and all kinds of memories and images swarmed into his mind like a swarm of bees. Sigh. At this moment, in the bamboo garden, Yin Kai was standing behind Chu Xi. Seeing her fiancé in such a state, her heart was filled with torment and pain. At this moment, she even began to pray that she could share this pain with Chu Xi. "Hey, Lin Ray, damn, what's going on?" At this moment, not too far away from the bamboo garden, Linley and Demonic Phoenix, who had just returned from the back mountains, saw each other. Demonic Phoenix was just about to say something when Linley cursed. What's wrong? Lin Ray's words piqued Xie Feng's curiosity. She immediately raised her cultivation and stood side by side with Lin Ray. She looked at the bamboo garden and saw Chu Si standing there with tears in her eyes. Damn, it can't be right. Seeing this scene, Xie Feng was stunned. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Maybe what you saw is like this. With that, Lin Ray walked toward Chu Si. He didn't know what was going on, but he had thought that if Chu Si was being bullied, he would fight back. After all, if she was bullied after following him, then it wouldn't be a slap to Chu Si's face, but a slap to his. What's going on? At this moment, Lin Ray, who had come to Chu Si's side, had already retracted his warm aura. At this moment, he was exuding a suffocating cold aura. This aura would make any cultivator below the God Emperor realm tremble and stiffen. Of course, if they were below the God Emperor realm, it would be even more obvious. If it was a light case, they would become retarded, and if it was a heavy case, they would die. This was because Lin Ray had already activated his killing intent. One should know that once Lin Ray activated his killing intent, millions of corpses would fall. Mountains of corpses, seas of blood, and bones would clatter. Young master? The sudden voice caused Chu Si, who was crying, to be stunned. When she saw that the person who had come was Linley, who had disappeared for a period of time, Chu Si immediately stopped crying. She wiped away the tears on her face and hurriedly bowed. Tell me, who bullied you? Tell me, I will kill them in a matter of minutes. Hearing Lin Ray's words, Chu Si looked at him in confusion. She said, No one bullied me. No one. His divine sense observed Chu Si's expression and every move. His face was full of confusion. If no one bullied you, then why are you crying? Tell me, don't be afraid. Even if this isn't our Xuanzong sect, even if this is the Danzong sect, as long as you tell me who bullied you, I will kill them. Even if I can't. Isn't there still Xie Feng? That's right. Tell me, who is it? At this moment, hearing Lin Ray's words, Xie Feng hurriedly stepped forward and puffed out her voluptuous chest. Her face was full of disdain. Hearing this, Chu Si was stunned. She didn't know what to say. The scene was silent. No one said anything. They just looked at each other blankly. At this moment, while everyone was still in a daze, a voice suddenly sounded. Instantly, Lin Ray was embarrassed. Young master, Senior Xie Feng, both of you have misunderstood. At this moment, Yun Kai, who had been standing in the bamboo garden, saw this scene and hurriedly stepped forward to explain. It's like this. This was how Cloudy explained the entire situation. At this moment, Linley and Demonic Phoenix both smiled awkwardly and politely, causing Cloudy and Chu Si to feel the urge to laugh out loud. A few minutes later, Yun Kai told Linley the entire story without missing a single word. By then, Linley was also aware of the situation. In an instant, he snapped at Chu Si. I say, kid, can't you be a little more manly? It's not like we'll never see each other again. Do you have to cry like that? You made me think that you were bullied. Yeah. At this moment, Xie Feng also said, in the future, let's make things clear first. You made us look like idiots just now. With that, Xie Feng left. She walked towards the bamboo garden. At this moment, although the two of them seemed to be reprimanding each other, in the eyes of Chu Si and Yun Kai, their hearts were radiating warmth. They knew that Lin Ray and Yun Kai were only acting this way because they were afraid that they would be bullied. I'm sorry. I was wrong. It won't happen again. At this moment, seeing Lin Ray and Yun Kai like this, Chu Si scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. That's enough. Seeing Chu Si like this, Linley said, the matter is over. Don't bring it up again. Today's matter is only known to the four of us. If I hear from fifth person, a moment ago, he was full of concern, but the next second, he threatened. Yes, I understand. Seeing this master of his acting this way, he felt helpless. Although he seemed to be speaking softly, He didn't feel any coldness at all. Okay, since that's the case, go pack up and we'll set off for Cheongjo. Now? At this moment, Lin Rei was simply speaking the truth. Chu Si wasn't prepared at all. Previously, he had promised his master to inform Lin Rei as soon as he returned, but now, not bad? After hearing Yun Kai's words, he immediately understood what was going on. I know your master asked you to inform him, but I have my reasons for doing so. With that, Lin Rei's divine sense locked onto Chu Si. With a serious expression, he said, since you've recognized me as your master, and this is the alchemy conference, I plan to arrive at Cheongjo City in advance and teach you the techniques, knowledge, recipes, and experience of alchemy. Of course, if you don't want to learn, I can I want to learn. Young master, I want to learn. I really want to. At this moment, Chu Si didn't care about the task Chu Tiansheng had given him. At this moment, he only wanted to arrive at Cheongjo City as soon as possible. Then, he would start learning Lin Rei's alchemy skills. Seeing Chu Si's current appearance, everyone couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lin Rei was very pleased with his thirst for knowledge. Chapter 712. All right, go and pack up. After saying these words to everyone, Linley himself didn't move. He just stood there, waiting for them to come. Apart from Lin Rei, the other three people walked into the room and came out after a while to look at them. Lin Rei smiled and didn't say anything. He leaped up and flew in the direction of the Danzong sect. At this moment, Chu Tiansheng was in the main hall, waiting for his disciple to send him a message. However, he didn't know that Chu Si had already brought Lin Rei to Jade City ahead of time. Jade City was a lawless area. All the big sects and guilds had their own encampments there. Even some small sects had their own encampments there. To put it nicely, Jade City was a place where cultivators gathered. To put it bluntly, Jade City was a place where cultivators gathered. In this place, whether it was trading, shops, alchemy, or selling pills, there were all kinds of businesses. Here, there were people who occupied, killed, and robbed. It could be said that this place was not inferior to an advanced cultivation world. Of course, there were also ordinary people in Jade City. There were no restrictions on killing or robbing in this city. However, these two things weren't allowed. This was a rule that all the big sects, guilds, and small sects had come to an agreement. That was, no one was allowed to harm ordinary people in Jade City. If someone violated this rule, the person who did it would become the public enemy of all the cultivators in Jade City. They would be hunted to the ends of the earth and wouldn't stop until they were killed. If the person who killed was a disciple of a sect or guild, his sect or guild would take the initiative to remove him from the sect and personally issue a kill order to kill him. It was also because of this that Jade City became a lawless area. Here, you could squander as much as you wanted. It could be said that this was a money-squandering den for all the big sections. Outside Jade City, there was a blind young man holding a water-patterned folding fan in his hand. Although he couldn't be described as handsome, his light red eyes and his white and slightly purple hair made him stand out in the crowd. At this moment, there were two women and a man following behind the young man. The man looked delicate and had a scholarly air about him, giving people the impression that he was a well-read person who was not good at cultivation. As for the two women, one of them was dressed in fiery red. Her face was covered with a piece of red cloth, but her figure was indescribably good. Just by looking at her figure, she was able to attract the attention of the surrounding people, and all of them were focused on her. As for the other woman, she also had a similar figure and was extremely beautiful. However, her expression was ice-cold, giving off a feeling that she was unapproachable and unapproachable. Young master, we've arrived at Jade City. At this moment, the young man behind him stepped forward and spoke. Yes, got it. Hearing this, the young man opened his fan. Because of his scholarly robes and his blindness, he gave off an extremely weak and flawless feeling. Hey, Lin Rei, what are we doing now? At that moment, the red-clothed woman behind him spoke. Her tone was filled with displeasure. These four people were none other than Lin Rei's group from the Danzong sect. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was walking forward, heard Xie Feng's words and stopped. He turned around and stared at her with his divine sense. With a smile on his face, he said, "Let's enter the city and have some fun during this time." Really? Some people were happy about Lin Rei's words, while others were confused. For example, when Hong Lian heard Lin Rei's words, her displeasure was written all over her face. But when she heard Lin Rei's words, she was instantly excited to the point where she could not suppress her excitement. Of course, Xie Feng was excited, but Chu Xi was confused. She looked at Lin Rei in disbelief, as if to say, "Are you serious?" "Ha! I'm only talking about Xie Feng, Yun Kai, and me. As for you, Chu Xi, before the alchemy conference begins, you must learn what I taught you and refine a trace of the illusory spirit blood fire I gave you. If you can refine it, there will be some earth-shaking changes in your alchemy." "Oh, I understand." Hearing this, Chu Xi nodded, although she was a little disappointed. When she thought about the fact that she would be able to see her grade, her disappointment disappeared at this moment. "Okay, since that's the case, let's go." Seeing that no one had any objections and that the division of labor was completed, Lin Rei did not linger any longer. Instead, he led the group to the city gate of Jade City. At this moment, the city gate was different from other cities. There were no guards here. It was open all day, and no one was in charge of it. When Lin Rei arrived at the city gate, he couldn't help but stop for no other reason. It was because in the past, whenever he entered a city, he would be cut down by people looking for trouble. Regarding this, even Lin Rei himself was a little puzzled. He didn't know if he had a bad constitution or something, but it was always like this. At this moment, without these people blocking the way, he was actually a little unaccustomed. When Chu Xi, who was following behind him, saw Lin Rei stop, she thought that he was sighing at the grandeur of Jade City's city walls. However, she didn't know that Lin Rei's stop had nothing to do with her appearance. Of course, after the pause, Lin Rei resumed his movement. He led Chu Xi into this place that was commonly known as the Three Unregulated Places. The three unregulated places were places that would not be managed by the Empire, the Sects, or anyone else. I'm here. 10,000-year-old blood, Lingji mushroom. 10,000-year-old blood, vermilion fruit. Only 100 low-grade, divine crystals. If you miss this village, you won't find the shop again. Mid-grade divine weapon, great discount. 3,000 mid-grade divine crystals, great discount. I'm here. At this moment, Lin Rei's group, who had just entered the city, heard the voices hawking the heavenly treasures that they were talking about. For a moment, Lin Rei's face revealed a trace of a smile. Had 10,000-year-old blood, Lingji mushroom. TSK. This thing is not bad. Of course, this was merely not bad. If this was 1,000 years ago, when Lin Rei had just entered the divine world, this 10,000-year-old blood Lingji mushroom would still be a little attractive. But now, that was not necessarily the case. At this moment, Chu Xi, who was standing behind Lin Rei, after hearing Lin Rei's words, she immediately took a step forward and asked, "Young master, why don't I go and buy it? This 10,000-year-old blood Lingji mushroom is indeed not bad. It can be used to refine the burning flame pill. It is effective even for divine monarchs." The moment Chu Xi's words left her mouth, she was rejected by Lin Rei's silence and helplessness. Behind her, Xie Feng rolled her eyes at her. "Sigh, Chu Xi, can you not be so honest?" Looking at her, Lin Rei really did not know what to say, but he had to say it. "You're now an emperor-grade alchemist. Although this 10,000-year-old blood Lingji mushroom is not bad, can't you feel the aura of the 10,000-year-old blood Lingji mushroom?" Hearing this, Chu Xi doubtfully extended her divine sense and probed the blood Lingji mushroom. Damn, this guy is selling fake medicine? At this moment, she understood the meaning behind Lin Rei's words. She lowered her head in shame and lost her previous enthusiasm. "Actually, it's nothing. Moreover, I have no intention of buying it. You should know that although the ingredients used by honor-grade alchemists are not the best in the world, it is still not something a small blood Lingji mushroom can compare to." "Yes, I understand, young master." At this moment, Chu Ci, who had finished speaking, did not say anything else. What he had done just now had instantly knocked his confidence to the bottom of the valley. Ci, it's okay. Young master still has a lot of things. As long as you study diligently, you will definitely become a great alchemist in the future. I believe in you. Can I? Hearing the words of comfort from her fiancé, Chu Ci, who had been at the bottom of the valley, regained a trace of confidence. Yes, of course you can. Your achievements in the Tao of alchemy are far more than this. I believe that you will definitely become a great alchemist in the future. Yes, I understand. At this moment, hearing Lin Rei's words of comfort and affirmation, Chu Ci's confidence was instantly restored. In fact, it was even greater than before. Seeing this, Lin Rei smiled and did not say anything else. Tisk, these two idiots are daydreaming. Great alchemists? I think they are more like egg-laying masters. Yeah, look at them. They don't have any cultivation at all. I'm afraid they are not cultivators, but ordinary people. Yeah, what alchemists? I'm afraid they don't even know the meaning of being an alchemist. At this moment, the discussions of the passers-by were heard. For a moment, Lin Rei and the others, who had heard all these discussions, were speechless. That's enough, don't cause trouble. Sensing Chu Ci's rage, just as he was about to attack, Linley's face was as calm as a spring breeze. Let's go. There is no need to argue with them. As long as you know it, it is fine. They are just passing dogs barking randomly. There is no need for you to get entangled with dogs. Ha! Lin Rei, you are so naughty. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Xie Feng and the other two standing behind him smiled. As for Chu Ci's previous annoyance, it disappeared in an instant. Let's go. As he spoke, Linley didn't say anything else. He just continued to walk forward. On the way, he saw all sorts of hawkers and all sorts of shops. What's more, within these shops, Linley saw something which he detested: a slave market. Lin Rei had always been very resistant to the slave trade. Although he had been in the world of cultivation for more than 2,000 years, his earliest memories and instincts were the 9 years of service and learning after that. Therefore, he was resistant to the slave trade from the bottom of his heart. But even so, he knew that he could not do anything about it. After all, this was too far away from the planet he was born on. He could not change anything. The most he could do was to buy a few slaves, but this could only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. 100 Treasures Pavilion? At this moment, Xie Feng's words attracted Lin Rei's attention. He immediately used his divine sense to look at the signboard of the 100 Treasures Pavilion above his head. TSK, TSK, TSK. It's not simple. Looking at the 3 golden words of the 100 Treasures Pavilion above his head, Lin Rei could easily feel the huge sword essence that penetrated from the words. In this regard, Lin Rei knew that he was no match for it. After all, he was not good at swords at all. However, he was confident that if his doppelganger Sakura was here, although he could not see the sword essence, it would be very difficult for him. After all, he had eaten the sword-breaking pill. What's wrong, young master? Is there something wrong? Behind him, Chu Ci saw Lin Rei stop and stepped forward to ask. Nothing, I just feel that the 100 Treasures Pavilion is not simple. Having said that, Lin Rei pointed to the signboard above his head and said, Look, just the signboard alone has such a vast and majestic sword essence. I'm afraid that the person who opened the 100 Treasures Pavilion must have a very deep understanding of swordsmanship. Haha, young master is right. The founder of the 100 Treasures Pavilion is indeed best at using swords. Chu Ci replied with a smile. Oh, tell me about it. Having said that, Lin Rei pricked up his ears and listened attentively. The founder of the 100 Treasures Pavilion is none other than the Sword Sect, one of the equipment refining sects. No wonder. After listening to Chu Ci's explanation, Lin Rei smiled and said, In that case, let's go. Since it's the Sword Sect's place, let's go in and see what the 100 Treasures Pavilion is like. Let's see if there's anything that can satisfy me. Having said that, Lin Rei stepped forward and entered the 100 Treasures Pavilion. At this moment, Lin Rei had no cultivation at all. He was no different from an ordinary person. At the same time, he did not want to know what it meant to kill without batting an eyelid, and was called the devil by others. At this moment, he wanted to know what it meant to be a weak scholar, gentle and elegant. The only thing he lacked was his eyes. Let's go. Behind him, Chu Si and the other two saw Lin Rei's actions and did not say anything. They followed him. The moment Linley entered the 100 Treasures Pavilion, he didn't think that these words were comparable to the 100 Treasures Pavilion. In his opinion, these words were no longer comparable to the decorations here. Tens of thousands of years old warm jade, golden sandstone crystal used to refine divine weapons, and various other treasures that even Lin Rei coveted. It did not matter if they were refining weapons. They were refining pills, setting up formations, and writing runes. There were all kinds of cultivation methods, spiritual spells, battle techniques, and especially rare illusions here. At this moment, Lin Rei suddenly felt that compared to the 100 Treasures Pavilion, the Nine Heavens trading company that he operated before and now operated by his sect were simply small businesses. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Looking at the dazzling array of items around him, Lin Rei was slightly excited. "Blind man, what are you doing here?" Just as Lin Rei was exploring the surroundings with his divine sense, a very unsuitable voice sounded. Suddenly, no matter whether it was him or the people who were admiring the items, all stopped. At this moment, all of them came to a halt. All of their gazes were focused on Linley. It's okay." Chu Si, who was following behind Lin Rei, saw this scene, and suddenly, he could no longer suppress his anger. He wanted to go forward and teach the person who spoke a lesson. However, at the moment when he used his strength and cultivation, Lin Rei stopped him with the folding fan in his hand. Chapter 713. Lin Rei's face was calm. He used his divine sense to look at the man who spoke. Judging from his clothes, he did not look like a rich man or a disciple of a big sect. His bodyguard was also mediocre. "Oh, I want to ask, who are you?" "Me? I'm the son of the manager of 100 Treasures Pavilion. At the same time, I'm also a servant here." The young man's face was full of pride, as if he was talking about something amazing. Hearing his words, Lin Rei was stunned. The son of the manager of 100 Treasures Pavilion and a servant of 100 Treasures Pavilion. Was this something to be proud of? After listening to him, Lin Rei calmly stepped forward to the man's side and sneered, "You're really something. The son of the manager of 100 Treasures Pavilion. If you didn't tell me, I would have thought 100 Treasures Pavilion was yours. What right do you have? You're just a servant. What right do you have to decide if someone can enter 100 Treasures Pavilion?" As he spoke, Linley's face showed a hint of anger. "Even if you were, I'd say the same thing. You're open for business. How can you refuse a guest? Wouldn't this be the biggest joke in the world? Or you can say that you're ignoring us commoners because you have the support of the Sword Sect. Or what?" At this moment, every single word of Linley's was like a gem, and every single word was incisive. He didn't give that servant the slightest chance to retort. "Sigh, it seems that 100 Treasures Pavilion will be closed in the future. How can there be such a servant who will come back in the future? Really? Yeah, isn't it obvious that they're looking down on us? TSK, TSK, TSK. That's right. Look at them. Even a blind person knows to come and patronize their business. How shameless." Sounds of discussion, cries of injustice for Linley, and cries of indignation rang out at this moment. Of course, there were some who pitted Linley and voiced their indignation, while there were also some who stood there with the attitude of watching a good show, smiling as they watched this scene. At this moment, the man who had severely injured Lin Rei earlier looked at the discussions around him and saw Lin Rei's unyielding attitude. For a moment, he, who had previously been full of disdain, became timid. But at the same time, besides being timid, there was also endless humiliation. He hated the person in front of him very much. Originally, it was a very simple matter, but now the person in front of him had turned it into the current situation. At this moment, he could vaguely sense that the blind young man before him was no ordinary person. At the same time, after Lin Rei came in, he repeatedly probed with his spiritual consciousness, but but he didn't sense any spiritual chi fluctuations from the people behind him. Therefore, the man's mind was filled with resentment. He stood up and threatened, "Brat, let me tell you, the place you are in now is my territory. As long as I say the word, you can forget about leaving here alive." As he spoke, the corners of the man's mouth curled up into a threatening smile. He then continued, "Of course, if you kneel down and beg for mercy, lick my shoes, and shout loudly that I was wrong, perhaps I will spare you on account of you calling me Grandpa." "Oh, what are you shouting for?" "Grandpa, I was wrong." Puff. Instantly, the moment the man spoke, the people around him, including Lin Ray, all revealed mocking smiles. Seeing them like this, the man was puzzled. "TSK, my good grandson, it's great that you can learn from your mistakes. However, I don't dare to acknowledge someone as unfilial as you." Once these words were spoken, even the stupidest person would know why the people around him were laughing. Immediately, the man's face turned red with shame and anger. At this moment, a murderous aura was brewing in his heart. His killing intent was triggered. As someone who did not live a good life since he was young, but he lived a better life than the commoners. Since he was young, he had become a playboy. At this moment, he felt that his dignity and face had suffered a serious blow. Lin Ray was very sensitive to murderous aura. At this moment, when he felt the man's murderous aura, Lin Ray knew that this person couldn't be left alive. Although his cultivation was pitifully low, he wanted to kill. This was the thing he shouldn't touch the most. Ha, kid, you're dead." The man raised his head and revealed a maniacal smile. In his eyes, murderous aura flashed and disappeared. "Oh, are you sure?" Lin Ray didn't care about his threat at all. Coincidentally, he was also feeling bored. Originally, he didn't know what to do. But now, Lin Ray didn't feel bored at all. Just you wait." Seeing Lin Ray's carefree attitude, the man glared at Lin Ray fiercely. Then, he turned around and walked into the inner hall. After a while, when the man reappeared, he was followed by 2 elders and a few middle-aged disciples. At this moment, the old man's face was filled with displeasure, and the middle-aged men behind him were clenching their fists. Coupled with the smug smile on the man's face, Linley immediately knew what was going on. At this moment, the people who were watching the show became even more excited. After all, this was a rare event. How could they let it go? They retreated to the side to prevent the aftermath of the battle from hurting them. At the same time, they found a comfortable place to sit down and watch the show. Lin Ray also found a place to sit down. His face was calm, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. "Director Young, it's them. They're the ones who said that the 100 Treasure Pavilion is a fake and that it's rotten on the inside. They said something about killing people and stealing treasures. They slandered the 100 Treasure Pavilion and even the Sword Sect." "What? It's him." At this moment, the 2 elders who were leading the group heard the man's words. They glared at the blind young man who was sitting on the stairs and the 2 women and 1 man behind him. They didn't hide the anger on their faces at all. Taking a step forward, the 2 old men arrived in front of Linley. Looking at him, one of the old men was the first to ask, "Kid, was what that kid said true? Did you insult the Sword Sect and the 100 Treasure Pavilion?" "Yes, I did." At this moment, Lin Ray didn't look like he wanted to hide anything. His original intention was to make a big deal out of this matter and have some fun. How could he lie? He wanted to kill. He wanted to kill everyone who wanted to kill him. "You, haha. Although I, Lin Ray, am not a good person, I can't let people slander me like this." Before the elder could speak, Lin Ray spoke in a tough tone. He didn't look guilty at all. At this moment, the elder hesitated. Although he cared about the reputation of the Sword Sect and the 100 Treasure Pavilion, he couldn't make a conclusion based on one person's words. As the saying goes, ask a tiger for its skin. If the 100 Treasure Pavilion has people like him, even if it didn't have me, Lin Ray, it would have Zhao Lei and Zhou Lei. Oh, hearing this, the expression on the face of the old man called Director Yang eased up. Hearing this, even the stupidest person would know that there was something fishy going on. Although they weren't sure, there was no harm in hearing it. As for the words of the person who went to complain, they couldn't be completely trusted, but they couldn't be disbelieved either. May I ask, little brother, what is the reason for this? Oomph. At least you have sensible people here. At this moment, Chu Ci, who was standing on the side, heard the elder's question. He didn't ask for Lin Rei's permission and directly responded. Haha, please enlighten me. At this moment, when the elder heard Chu Ci's words, he understood that the man in his shop was in the wrong first, and it was a big mistake. Otherwise, the other party wouldn't be so tough. As for him, he had already become a tool for his revenge. At this moment, the old man came to a realization and was immediately enraged. To think that he, a director of the 100 Treasure Pavilion, was being used as a tool by his subordinate. How could he not be angry? It's like this. Just a while ago, my young master and I. Just like this, Chu Ci told him what happened after he and the others entered the shop. He told the elder everything in full detail. On the other hand, the man who made things difficult previously thought that he could teach the people who humiliated him a lesson today, or even kill them. However, now that he saw Director Yang's expression become uglier and uglier, his heart skipped a beat and a bad premonition arose spontaneously. After about a few minutes, Director Yang roughly understood what had happened after listening to Chu Ci's words. At the same time, he realized that the whole thing was his shop's fault. For a moment, Director Yang lowered his head with guilt and shame and said, "How about this? This old man will sell the things you bought in the 100 Treasure Pavilion today at a 30% discount. Take it as an apology from the 100 Treasure Pavilion. Is that okay?" Hiss. 30% discount? Oh my God. I didn't expect something like this to happen today. 30% discount, what does that mean? Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if you gave it to me? I have a lot of things I want to buy. At this moment, when they heard the old man say 30% discount, for a moment, the surrounding people who were originally waiting to watch a good show began to discuss noisily. Unwilling, regretful, shocked, envious, and all kinds of complicated gazes were focused on the blind young man at this moment. At this moment, everyone was waiting for Lin Rei's reply. They wanted to see how Lin Rei would respond. Not only them, but Director Yang was also waiting. He knew that he was in the wrong, so he could only use this as an excuse to settle the matter. 30% discount. At this moment, Lin Rei opened his mouth. However, his tone was filled with disdain. This young man doesn't care. What the F***? At this moment, Lin Rei's words aroused public anger. At the same time, Director Yang was also dissatisfied. As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. He never thought that the young man in front of him would be like this. You have to think carefully. A 30% discount has never appeared in our 100 Treasure Pavilion. If it wasn't for, although I don't want the precious 30% discount you speak of, I want something else. I wonder if you can give it to me? Before Director Yang could finish his words, Zhang Xian said. Before Director Yang could finish speaking, Lin Rei spoke first. Oh, what is it? Director Yang's heart was filled with doubts. He really wanted to know what it was that could be more important than the 30% discount offered by the 100 Treasure Pavilion. It wasn't just him. At this moment, the surrounding people didn't hesitate to release their cultivation and use their divine sense and hearing to get an answer. Feeling the doubts of the people around him, Lin Rei opened his mouth and said, "I want him." As he spoke, Lin Li pointed at the man behind him, the man who had severely injured him. At this moment, Lin Rei only wanted him, not for anything else, but for the fact that Lin Rei wanted to kill him before. Lin Rei couldn't let him live. As the saying goes, being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Being merciful to the enemy is hurting yourself. Lin Rei didn't want this to happen. Don't stop me. I'm going to kill you. 30% discount. You're really wasting God's gift. At this moment, after everyone heard Lin Rei's words, they were stunned at first. But when they came back to their senses, some of them couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to rush forward and crack open Lin Rei's head. They wanted to see what he was thinking. Are you sure? At this moment, Director Yang recovered from his speechlessness. He didn't expect Lin Ray to make such a request. I'm sure. Give his person to me. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with you. Do you agree or not? No. No. Director Yang, my father is the manager here. You can't give me to them. If you give me to them, I will definitely lose my life. I was wrong. I was wrong. Director Yang, I beg you. Please, for the sake of my father sacrificing his life for the 100 Treasure Pavilion, please spare me. Fear filled his entire body. At this moment, the man was scared. He was really scared. He knew that if he was taken by the blind young man, he wouldn't be able to live to see the sun tomorrow. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. As long as he wasn't taken, even if he was punished, he would still have a chance to be rewarded. If he was really given to the blind young man, he wouldn't even be able to save his own life. There was no need to talk about revenge. However, Director Yang was curious and didn't see the man begging for mercy. At this moment, he just wanted to confirm if Lin Ray was telling the truth. I'll ask you again. Are you sure you only want him? You don't want anything else? Sigh. Seeing how long-winded Director Yang was, Linley let out a sigh. Filled with helplessness, he said, Really? As long as you give him to me, I don't want anything else. In addition, today's matter can be written off. Okay, I agree. After receiving confirmation, Director Yang naturally agreed. This way, not only would the matter be resolved, but he wouldn't lose the interest of the 100 Treasure Pavilion. As for the man's vacancy, he believed that many people would want to work here. No, Director Yang, my father is the manager. You can't do this. At this moment, the man went crazy. He knelt on the ground and hugged the old man's leg tightly. On his face, tears and snot mixed together. It was impossible to tell the two apart. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they felt that it was meaningless. Moreover, what they had imagined didn't happen. After losing the attraction, the crowd dispersed and busied themselves with what they had to do. Those who had to buy things went shopping. Those who had to shop went shopping. It was as if nothing had happened before. Go! At this moment, Lin Ray said to Chu Si, who was behind him. Immediately, Chu Si stood in front of the man and lifted him up. Then, she walked towards the door. No, Director Yang, I was wrong. Please save me. Following the man's pleas for help and his tearful expression, the two of them finally disappeared from the 100 Treasure Pavilion. Chapter 714. At this moment, a clerk wearing the same clothes as the man who was taken away slipped into the back when no one was paying attention. Lin Ray knew everyone's actions like the back of his hand. When the man left, Lin Ray knew that this matter was not over. Moreover, he did not want it to end because he had not had enough fun yet. Just as everyone had returned to normal, and Linley was casually sitting on the stairs as he had been before, a miserable scream rang out from outside. At this moment, the scream attracted the attention of the passers-by on the first floor of the 100 Treasures Pavilion. Director Yang was also shocked. From the scream just now, he could tell that this person was probably. However, even though he knew the answer in his heart, he still signaled a strong man behind him to go out and investigate the situation. TSK. Not bad. He killed someone in front of the 100 Treasures Pavilion. Moreover, he killed someone from the 100 Treasures Pavilion. This person is really fierce. Of course, I really don't know where this person's confidence comes from. He actually dares to be so presumptuous in front of the Sword Sect's 100 Treasures Pavilion. He's invincible. Look, there's more to come. The discussion seemed to have become a habit at this moment. Moreover, everyone seemed to have nothing to hide. They just kept talking. It was as if they were not in the 100 Treasures Pavilion at this moment. They were unscrupulous. At this moment, the strong man who was sent out to investigate the situation returned to Director Yang's side. He whispered in Director Yang's ear, "He's dead, and what?" Director Yang asked coldly when he saw how timid and hesitant this disciple was. After Zhu Yuan was taken out, he was dismembered by 5 horses. In the end, he was burned to death. Not even a trace of him was left. Director Yang sucked in a breath of cold air, when he heard the strong man's words. His heart trembled, and his expression was full of panic. Then, he looked at Lin Ray, who was sitting on the stairs with a calm expression, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. At this moment, Director Yang had a new view of this blind young man. Their bodies were torn apart by 5 horses and then burned to ashes. Although this method was not very cruel, it was not something that the righteous path would do. How could a normal person be dismembered by 5 horses? How could a normal person suffer such torture when they were alive and even be burned to ashes? Director Yang was extremely disgusted by such actions. Moreover, he had never expected that the person in front of him would kill Zhu Yuan. He thought that all he had to do was to spit a few words and beat him up to vent his anger. But now, just as Director Yang was staring at Lin Ray in a daze, the sound of someone clapping their hands was heard. The sudden sound of the clapping, coupled with the fact that Director Yang was in a daze, immediately woke him up and looked towards the door. Chu Xiai seemed to have done some dirty work. He patted the dirt off his hands and walked slowly to Lin Ray. He said in a low voice, "Young master, I've dealt with that person." Yes. Linley was very satisfied with how Chu Xiai had handled things. He wouldn't let off anyone who dared to go against him, his enemies, or those who revealed their killing intent towards him, even if that person was someone who would never surpass him. At this time, Director Yang looked at Lin Ray's expression. After hearing his subordinate's report, there was not the slightest change in his expression. Lin Ray's face was as calm as an ancient well without ripples. It was so calm that Director Yang was covered in cold sweat. This person is not simple. He is a classic example of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Look, this person is not simple. Interesting. Seeing Lin Ray's reaction, the surrounding people began to mutter in their hearts. They had a vague feeling that this blind young man was not simple. At the same time, they began to slowly refuse to provoke this blind young man. They even had an impulse to leave. However, Lin Ray did not understand the thoughts in their hearts. Director Yang understood even more. At this moment, he was waiting for the father of the person who was killed. As the saying goes, cut the weeds without removing the roots. He was not sure what kind of person the father of the person who died here was. If it was one of the 4 ruthless people, then he did not want to see such an outcome. Who is it? How dare you touch my son? You don't want to live anymore? Just when the scene was so quiet that it was oppressive, a rough voice filled with boundless killing intent sounded. Before the person arrived, the voice arrived. Soon, a middle-aged man dressed in luxurious clothes walked out. The middle-aged man was very unique. He had a small mustache and a monkey with fur beside his nose. He was very eye-catching. It was guaranteed that if he was placed in a crowd, he would be able to recognize his existence at a glance. He's here. At this moment, Linley was laughing in his heart. The thing he had been waiting for had finally come. However, when that person appeared within Linley's divine sense and was reflected in Linley's mind, Linley was stunned. However, he quickly came back to his senses. When his divine sense locked onto that, a strange-looking middle-aged man, an imperceptible sneer appeared at the corner of Linley's mouth. It disappeared in an instant, and no one present was able to notice it, because, at this moment, everyone's gazes were all on that fat, middle-aged man. Interesting. The young one is gone, and the old one is here. However, I don't know if this old one is useful. Tisk, why do you care so much? Just watch, and you will know soon. Looking at the scene, everyone was watching the show and discussing at the same time. They did not have any intention of avoiding the topic. At this moment, the middle-aged man's words sounded, Director Yang's heart trembled. He thought to himself, oh no, he knew this person. This person was the manager of the 100 Treasure Pavilion, Zhu Zhun. Normally, he would collect bills and buy goods. However, he also had another identity. He was the law enforcement elder of the Sword Sect's outer sect. His cultivation was at the Divine Monarch realm, and he was extremely protective of his own people. He was famous in the Sword Sect's own Xiong city. At this moment, seeing Zhu Zhan's arrival, Director Yang knew that the matter that had originally calmed down had not calmed down. Instead, it had been sublimated once again. Zhu Zhen walked out from the back with an unfriendly expression. His expression was filled with killing intent as he arrived in front of Director Yang. He swept his gaze across the crowd, and finally, his gaze fell on Lin Ray, who was sitting on the stairs. He looked at him and asked Director Yang, who was beside him, "Director Yang, I wonder if there's someone who has designs on my son." As he spoke, only then did Zhu Zhen recall that he had swept his gaze around earlier and did not see the shadow of his son. Instantly, his brows furrowed as a bad premonition surged into his heart. "Where's my son? Where's my son?" Zhu Zhen did not notice that at this moment, Director Yang's expression was extremely ugly and his heart was filled with anxiety. Although his status and cultivation were much higher than Zhu Zhen's in both the 100 Treasures Pavilion and the Sword Sect, Zhu Zhen was famous for being a troublemaker. He had climbed all the way to his current position from a street thug. If he was angry, even he did not dare to provoke him. Now, hearing his question, Director Yang did not know how to answer. Say that he's dead? Ha! I'm afraid the 100 Treasures Pavilion will suffer today. But if I don't say it, he's dead. Just as Director Yang was considering whether to tell Zhu Zhen, a voice sounded. Immediately, Director Yang went completely crazy. However, when Director Yang was about to angrily rebuke the person who spoke, he saw that the person who spoke was the blind young man who he could not fathom and who he feared. The words that he originally wanted to say were choked at this moment and could not be said. What? He's dead? Hearing the news of his son's death, Zhu Zhen was momentarily stunned. A difficult smile appeared on his face and his voice became hurried. No, impossible. How could my son be? How can my son be? Impossible. No, impossible. At this moment, Zhu Zhen went crazy. He did not care if it was true or not. His aura reached its peak, and his cultivation of an early-stage divine lord was exposed at this moment. A terrifying pressure rushed out and covered everyone within a radius of 1,000 meters. Puff! Puff, puff, puff! The crazy Zhu Zhen seemed to have lost his mind. At this moment, with the 100 Treasures Pavilion as the center, the area within a radius of 1,000 meters was covered by the pressure of an early-stage divine lord. Most of the people in this area were ordinary people. At this moment, after feeling this terrifying pressure, all the ordinary people vomited blood. They knew that some ordinary people had directly died. The ordinary people in the divinity and the ordinary people in the lower world could not be mentioned in the same breath. In the lower world, except for cultivators, the lifespan of ordinary people was at most 120 years. The lucky ones could live up to 150 years, and the unlucky ones could live up to 60 years. However, it was different in the divinity. After being baptized by the spiritual chi in the divinity, their lifespan was greatly increased. Ordinary people could live up to 400 or 500 years. Because of the baptism of spiritual chi, their bodies could be compared to an earth immortal at the worst. Now, the sudden pressure made their bodies unable to bear it, and they vomited blood and died. Zhu Zhen and the others in the 100 Treasures Pavilion had no idea about all of this. At this moment, he only knew that his son was killed, and he roared to the sky. He never thought that he would violate the rules of Qiongzhou because of this. At this moment, Zhu Zhen, who had recovered from his rage, had a calm look on his face. He lowered his head and looked down at Linley, his eyes filled with disdain and killing intent. You said my son died. Who did it? I'll let him know that he can't afford to offend my son. I killed him. F***CK. Is this guy crazy? Oh, F***CK. Isn't this like the god of longevity hanging himself? Is he tired of living? At this moment, Lin Ray didn't hide anything from Zhu Zhen and directly said that he was responsible for Zhu Yuan's death. At this moment, after hearing Lin Ray's straightforward answer, the surrounding people went crazy. They looked at him as if they were looking at an idiot. They really want to crack open Lin Ray's head and see what he was thinking. For ordinary people, they wouldn't be able to wait to encounter this kind of situation. However, He was actually forced to do something beyond his ability and was courting death, of course. The surrounding people weren't the only ones who were shocked. At this moment, Director Yang was also shocked by Lin Rei's answer. He really didn't expect this blind young man to be like this. However, no one noticed that when Lin Li was replying to Zhu Zhan, there was an imperceptible smile at the corner of his mouth. If any of his past enemies had seen this smile, they would definitely have panicked and try to flee for their lives. It wasn't because of anything else, but because this smile had become Lin Rei's signature before he killed someone. You killed him. Ha! You killed him. Good kid, you have guts. However, this doesn't stop me from torturing you. As he spoke, a magical weapon similar to a silver hook appeared. A cold light flashed on the weapon. The moment the magical weapon appeared, the temperature in 100 Treasures Pavilion dropped. Speak, where's my son's body? Hearing this, Director Yang was dumbfounded. He knew that the body was burned. But, burned? F***CK. Can you stop telling the truth? You know that I'm trying my best to protect you. You're making things difficult for me by doing this. Director Yang, who was listening to Lin Rei's answer, went completely crazy. He didn't expect the blind young man in front of him to be so reckless. However, he knew that at this moment, things had reached an uncontrollable point. Therefore, he could only withdraw and find someone who could control the situation. Otherwise, kid, go to hell. However, it was too late. When Zhu Zhan heard that not only was his son dead, but even his body was gone, anger and murderous intent filled his mind. At this moment, he couldn't care less. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was to kill the person in front of him and the people he brought with him to avenge his son. Zhu Zhan's fat body disappeared from the 100 Treasures Pavilion in an instant. This scene shocked everyone present. When Director Yang saw this, he walked to the back without thinking. The battle had already begun. He had to find someone to suppress Zhu Zhan as soon as possible. Tisk. The moment Zhu Zhan disappeared, Chu Xiai, who was standing beside Lin Li, was about to make a move, but at this moment, just like before, Lin Li once again pressed the folding fan against his chest and said, "It's been a long time since I've exercised my muscles and bones. Go find a restaurant first, book a place, and then come back to find me. After this matter is resolved, let's go eat." Lin Li didn't try to hide his voice. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone around him heard it. Everyone was stunned by this and thought that they had misheard. "Yes, I'll do it right away." With that, Chu Xiai stepped out of the 100 Treasures Pavilion and disappeared into the crowd. I've been sitting for so long that my bones are rusting. I should move around." At this moment, Lin Rei's voice attracted everyone's attention. They saw that Lin Rei's folding fan was like a weak scholar. He didn't look like a cultivator at all. At this moment, everyone felt that they were going crazy. They couldn't imagine how such a person could fight with an early-stage divine lord. Wasn't he courting death? Chapter 7:15. Everyone present thought that Lin Li would be struck by Zhu Zhang's ferocious power, and in the end spit out a mouthful of blood and die. Some of the more cowardly ones even closed their eyes, sighing in pity for Lin Li. However, just as everyone was fantasizing, the scene they were hoping for didn't happen. The ant you're talking about is yourself, right? Lin Rei stood up and stretched. He didn't even release his divine sense. He slowly raised his left hand and pointed it at Zhu Zhan, who was rushing towards him. Head eye. At this moment, Zhu Zhan's eyes were filled with killing intent and disdain. He didn't believe that a blind person would be his opponent. Moreover, he could feel that the other party didn't use any spirit energy. At this moment, Zhu Zhan began to wonder if the other party was a cultivator. Because of the rules of Jade City, he even began to worry if he would get into trouble after killing him. However, when he thought about how his precious son died without even leaving a corpse behind, he couldn't care less. He just wanted to kill the person in front of him for revenge. Zhu Zhan was very fast. In an instant, he arrived in front of Lin Rei. With a majestic and cold-killing intent, he threw a punch at Lin Rei's dantian. Son, wait. I'll send him down to be trained by you. Slow down. Seeing that he was about to kill the person in front of him, Zhu Zhan revealed a sad smile. His eyes were moist as he spoke to the sky. At this moment, the surrounding people were excited, nervous, regretful, and scared. There were all kinds of emotions. Some were watching the show, while others felt sorry for Lin Rei. Bang! There was a loud explosion. A terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. There were many people with powerful cultivation, but under Zhu Zhan's attack, the shockwave couldn't be underestimated. At this moment, everyone closed their eyes because of the shockwave. Some turned around and used their weak spirit energy. However, some cultivators with low cultivation levels suffered. Their bodies were directly pressed against the wall of the 100 Treasures Pavilion by the aftermath of the collision. They stuck to the wall and had an intense and intimate contact with it that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The aftermath lasted for about 10 breaths before dissipating in the air. In an instant, everyone hurriedly opened their eyes, wanting to see the current situation of the battle. How is this possible? How did you? Just as everyone turned around and focused their gazes on Lin Rei and Zhu Zhan, a cry of surprise rang out. F***CK. No, it can't be right. F***CK. They're playing the pig to eat the tiger. What the F***CK are they trying to do? Is it fun? Damn, the situation of the battle has turned around so quickly. This is 2. At this moment, Zhu Zhan, who had taken the initiative to attack, originally had the thought of killing Yi Futian with a single strike. He was filled with confidence. However, at this moment he was wrong. He discovered that he was wrong. He knew that he had used all the power he could mobilize. However, at this moment, his attack was tightly wrapped by a palm without any spirit energy, which he thought was an ordinary person or even a blind young man with a low cultivation level. He could feel that his spirit energy could not break through his control at all. At this moment, he had used all his strength, but the final result was that he was stunned. No, impossible. How could you? I don't believe it. Regarding the current situation, no one could bear it. At this moment, he did not want to believe that all of this was real. Boom! This time, he released his cultivation level. His hand, which was holding a silver hook, once again gathered strength and fiercely attacked Lin Rei's head. At this moment, he did not hold back. He gambled everything on this attack. The appearance of this scene also made the surrounding people nervous. Gusi also became anxious at this moment. However, the next scene made Zhu Zhan completely despair. His heart was like dead ashes. Clang! The sound of metal colliding was heard. Everyone looked up with anticipation and hope. However, the scene that appeared at this moment made everyone go crazy. At this moment, Lin Rei's right hand's middle finger and index finger clamped Zhu Zhan's silver hook that was piercing towards him. Lin Rei's hand was like a pair of pliers with vast strength. No matter how much strength Zhu Zhan used, he could not pull it out. Humph! Looking at Zhu Zhan with a mocking expression, Lin Rei sneered in his heart and said, "Ant, I'll return this sentence to you. However, you have to know that you can't even be considered an ant. At most, you're just a fart." After saying that, Lin Rei directly shook off Zhu Zhan's hand that was holding the silver hook. Then his right hand blasted Zhu Zhan's dantian as fast as lightning. With a cracking sound, a broken sound was heard. At this moment, Zhu Zhan, who was tightly held by Lin Rei's left hand, received a heavy punch from Lin Rei. Because of Lin Rei's restraint, Zhu Zhan's body did not fly out. Otherwise, at this moment, he would have already been 100 meters away. Of course, this attack had already caused Zhu Zhenhui to suffer an unprecedented blow. Zhu Zhenhui stood in front of Lin Li, his face deathly pale. A trace of bright red blood flowed out from his mouth. His other hand had already tossed the silver hook to one side. His other hand was tightly clutching his dantian. His face was filled with determination and unwillingness. However, at the same time, an expression of disappointment, fear, and disbelief appeared on Zhu Zhan's face. At this moment, his heart was extremely conflicted. It's over, it's all over. Feeling his cultivation disappear at this moment and his dantian being crippled, he knew that he had kicked an iron plate. He had encountered a tough opponent. However, he could not understand how the person in front of him could be so tyrannical. Moreover, he was blind. As for him, it was because Lin Ray was blind, and at the same time, he did not feel a trace of spiritual energy from him. Therefore, Zhu Zhen concluded that he was at most an ordinary person. Now that he thought about it, everything was just his own wishful thinking. He did not regret it. Since he had already lost, there was nothing for him to complain about. However, the only thing that made him unreconciled was that he did not personally avenge his son. He was unreconciled. He regretted his poor judgment. If he had known this would happen, he would have hidden and found someone to help him kill his son. However, at this moment, no matter what he said, it was already over. The matter had ended just like that. Looking at Zhu Zhen, who was kneeling in front of him, Lin Ray sighed and said, "Don't blame me. No wonder you can only blame yourself for not teaching your son well. Your son wanted to kill me. I will not let such a person go. As the saying goes, cut the weeds without removing the roots. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not knowing how to endure." "What? You?" At this moment, Zhu Zhen, who was kneeling on the ground with a face full of pain and proof, seemed to have thought of something the moment he heard those words. He raised his head and looked at Lin Ray with disbelief. "Oh, you guessed right. However, you have no chance." After saying that, he ignored the shocked gazes of the surrounding onlookers and ignored Zhu Zhen's disbelieving expression. He raised his hand, and just like before, without using any cultivation, he slapped towards the top of Zhu Zhen's head. "Stop!" Just as he was about to kill Zhu Zhen, a voice suddenly appeared, attracting the attention of Lin Ray, Zhu Zhen, and everyone present. At the same time, the voice also stopped Lin Ray's hand, which was less than a centimeter away from Zhu Zhen's head. Before the person arrived, the voice came first. Soon, under everyone's doubtful and expectant gazes, a beautiful woman who was as beautiful as a fairy appeared in the crowd's focus. Looking at her, Lin Ray's expression was full of doubt. However, one thing was for sure. She came from behind, which meant that she was a member of the 100 Treasure Pavilion. At the same time, she was approved by Zhu Zhen. When he thought of this, Linley began to frown. As soon as the woman had appeared, Linley had immediately sensed her cultivation level. Although she wasn't exceptionally talented in the entire deity realm, she could be considered a genius. A peak stage, late stage divine lord with a top-grade dual-attribute spiritual root of wood and water, with exceptional talent and comprehension abilities. Generally speaking, in the past, Linley would have wanted to take such a person as his disciple. Looking at him, Lin Ray did not say anything. He did not know what the other party's intention was. Was he trying to stop him or something else? Zhuge Mingyue? She is Zhuge Mingyue, the only daughter of the Sword Sect's sect master, Zhuge Tian. She is the third of the 7 beauties. Oh my God! At this moment, among the surrounding onlookers, a sharp-eyed person recognized the woman the moment she appeared. The moment the man revealed the woman's identity, everyone present exclaimed in surprise. TSK, TSK. Such a beautiful woman. If she is not the Sword Sect's sect master's daughter, how good would it be if she is my wife? TSK, this woman only exists in the heavens. You should save your breath. If what you said just now was heard by the one in your family, I'm afraid. He, the third of the 7 beauties. As expected, the aura around her and a trace of the aura of someone in a superior position. She is indeed extraordinary. The third? Sword Sect? Zhuge Mingyue? At this moment, hearing the discussions of the crowd, there were different opinions. Lin Ray's interest was piqued. He removed his hand that was placed in front of Xiuzhen. It wasn't that he was afraid, but that he felt that things were getting more and more interesting. He wanted to continue playing. Moreover, the woman named Zhuge Mingyue in front of him had a veil on her face, but her big, watery eyes were very lively. She had a beautiful figure that was curvy in all the right places. She had everything she wanted. With such a figure, her looks couldn't be lacking. Thinking of this, Lin Ray could not help but smile. As the saying goes, a gentle and graceful woman is a gentleman's mate. As a normal man, he was no exception. Fellow Taoist, I am Zhuge Mingwei. I wonder if you can give me some face and let him go? As soon as she said that, his expression changed. However, it returned to normal in an instant. It is not impossible to let him go, but what? As long as you say it, I will try my best to satisfy you. Hearing that he agreed, Zhuge Mingwei's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on her face. At this moment, the corners of Lin Li's lips curled up slightly as he revealed a smile. His tone was calm as he said, I can let him go. However, Miss Zhuge must become my Taoist companion. What the F***? At this moment, Lin Ray's words shocked all three parties. Their mouths were wide open and their eyes were dazed. Lin Ray did not care about their shock. However, at this moment, Xiefeng was the same. He was slightly confused. However, this confusion was only temporary. Soon, it disappeared. His consciousness looked at Zhuge Mingwei again to see what she would choose. However, at this moment, Zhuge Mingwei looked as if she had been immobilized. She stood there in a daze. Her face was full of disbelief, and her mind was in a daze. Damn it, you hashtag at hashtag asterisk. At this moment, a young man in the surroundings came back to his senses. His face was full of disdain as he cursed at Lin Ray. It was as if he had forgotten that a cultivator in the early stage of the Divine Monarch realm was easily suppressed by him. And the curses made the people in the surroundings, including Zhuge Mingwei and the others, come back to their senses. At this moment, she was very angry. She wanted to talk nicely, but the other party made such an unreasonable request. This made her unable to tolerate it. Don't worry. Be careful with your words. Otherwise, it's easy to get into trouble with your words. Zhuge Mingwei said to Lin Ray with a cold gaze. At this moment, the temperature of the surroundings dropped to an extreme. Oh, yes. Woman, Mingwei, woman, kill him. What kind of bird is he? How dare he say such arrogant words here? Yes, kill him, kill him. Look at his miserable state now. Isn't he a toad that wants to eat swan meat? Is he dreaming? At this moment, Lin Ray was interrupted by the curses of the crowd. For a moment, he frowned. Although he did not want to argue with these people, they were so shameless. They bullied a disabled person again and again. This was intolerable. Whoosh! A sound pierced through the air. Just as Lin Ray was about to teach them a lesson himself, he saw a figure flash past in an instant and appear in front of the people who had mocked and cursed. Punch after punch. Every punch landed on the people's bodies. Bam! 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 At this moment, the entire first floor of Baibao Pavilion was filled with screams. It was the sound of hammering. At the same time, this made Zhuge Mingwei wary, because from the beginning to the end, she did not know how that person appeared in front of the group of people. Lin Ray did not expect this scene at all. At this moment, it was none other than Xiefeng, whom he had always disdained. Looking at her crazy behavior, Lin Ray could not help but tremble. Then he quickly said, Okay, Xiefeng, just teach them a lesson. Okay, got it. The voice came from behind. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded because her speed was so fast that it made everyone confused. Not only the crowd, but even Lin Ray was stunned. Xiefeng was still far away when she spoke a moment ago, but in the next second, she had appeared behind him. At the same time, Lin Ray was full of envy and desire for such speed because this cultivation and this speed was the height that he was working hard to reach at this moment. This person is not simple. At this moment, these words appeared in Zhuge Mingwei's mind. Chapter 716. So, have you thought it through? Do you want to save him or become my cultivation partner? Lin Ray smiled faintly as he looked at Zhuge Mingwei. Of course, if you don't choose, then I'll have to make my own choice. When the time comes, it won't be up to you anymore. At this moment, hearing Lin Ray's words, Zhuge Mingwei frowned. She was usually very smart and could see through everyone's thoughts, but now she couldn't see through the thoughts of the person in front of her. However, between herself and Zhu Zhan, Zhuge Mingyue knew which choice she should make. All right, I know. So you want to be my cultivation partner? Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. As soon as the word I left her mouth, Linley didn't wait for her to continue. I know you want to say that I'm handsome, elegant, and unrestrained. I love freedom. So, I'll fulfill your wish. Whoosh! After saying that, Zhuge Mingyue was stunned. She was furious. She had never seen such a shameless and brazen person before. However, just as she was about to retort, the blind youth who had been standing in front of her disappeared in the blink of an eye. This scene shocked everyone, but at this moment, a breeze blew behind her. Zhuge Mingyue was shocked. She wanted to turn around to check, but a hand pressed against her back. A terrifying energy surged in and sealed her movements. She needed to use her power. At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue was shocked. She knew that this person's subordinate was very powerful. At the same time, she knew that he could defeat Zhu Zhan, who was an early-stage divine lord. But she didn't expect him to be so strong that she couldn't even fight back. I've said too much. If you want to be my cultivation partner, just say it. You don't have to take the initiative. If you do this, I'll feel embarrassed. Zhuge Mingyue's body fell towards Lin Rei. Finally, she fell into Lin Rei's arms. This action caused everyone to be shocked. At this moment, they had all gone mad. They couldn't accept that such a beautiful woman had fallen into the hands of this blind man before them. In their hearts, this was like a fresh flower stuck in cow dung, and it was a very smelly person. They were very envious, regretful, and hateful, but in the end, there was nothing they could do. But what they didn't know was that right now, Zhuge Mingyue already had thoughts of killing herself. She didn't want this to happen either, but she didn't have the power to fight back. If she could, she would have picked up a machete and charged forward, chopping Linley into 8 pieces, tearing his body apart and killing him. But at this moment, she couldn't do it. There was nothing he could do. Can't help it. This brother's charisma is too great. Looking at Zhuge Mingyue, Linley raised his head, shrugged his shoulders, and said nonchalantly, "Don't worry." However, this sentence aroused the dissatisfaction and jealousy of the surrounding people. Tisk, what's there to be cocky about? Isn't it just courting Zhuge Mingyue? What's so great about that? B asterisk starred, damn you. F asterisk CK. If it weren't for the fact that I'm weaker than you, I would have chopped you up with a knife this morning. Of course, these words weren't said out loud. After all, Xie Feng, who was behind Lin Rei, had displayed absolute power. So at this moment, everyone could only glare at Lin Rei angrily and silently feel wronged. How is it, little beauty? At this moment, Lin Rei's hand had already started to erase the mountain peak on Zhuge Mingyue's chest. At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue was anxious, but she couldn't do anything. She could only watch as this devil's claws invaded her territory. She was so anxious that she couldn't even move. She was so anxious that tears flowed from her eyes. Lin Rei, could naturally feel Zhuge Mingyue's current actions and emotions. So, just as his hand was about to touch there, he stopped. TSK. No, let's talk in the room. You're so beautiful. We can't let their eyes take advantage of you. Don't you think so? As he spoke, he took his hand from Zhuge Mingyue's chest and held her in his arms, because the two of them were already in close contact. At this moment, Lin Rei said to himself, F asterisk CK, this woman is really... At this moment, Xie Feng, who was standing behind Lin Rei, looked at the actions of Lin Rei and Zhuge Mingyue. Her heart ached, but she knew that Lin Rei had sealed all of Zhuge Mingyue's meridians, spiritual power, and language. At the same time, she also knew that Lin Rei was just teasing her. Even so, she still felt uncomfortable. However, Lin Rei didn't know what Xie Feng was thinking. At this moment, he only wanted to have some fun and then leave. Looking at the envious and jealous gazes of the crowd, Lin Rei chuckled. Then, he lowered his head and came to Zhuge Mingyue's ear. In a low voice that only the two of them could hear, he said, Actually, I never wanted to let Zhu Zhan go. From the beginning to the end, he was already on my kill list. So even if you agreed, you couldn't have saved him. Moreover, you had no intention of saving him at all. So, as he spoke, Lin Rei raised his hand. A blood-red flame instantly rushed out and landed on Zhu Jin's body. The red flame began to burn on Zhu Jin's body. Ah, no! At this moment, the miserable cry made the hearts of the crowd turn cold. They started to tremble all over. Most of the people here were disciples of aristocratic families. Occasionally, there would be a few individual cultivators and even ordinary people. Although they had heard of this kind of death, they had never seen it before. But today they saw it. This kind of death frightened the crowd. At this moment, their bodies felt as if they were being burned by the flame. Their hands couldn't help but grope their bodies a few times. The miserable cry made everyone's scalp tingle. Their bodies felt as if they had fallen into the depths of the Arctic. It was also as if someone was strangling them and making it difficult to breathe. A meaty fragrance slowly drifted throughout the entire first floor of the Baibao Pavilion. At this moment, when everyone smelled the meaty fragrance, their organs turned upside down and their stomachs couldn't stand the smell. Blurg. At this moment, more than half of the people on the first floor bent over and began to vomit. They wanted to go out and breathe in the fresh air, but they didn't dare to move because there was a murderous demon in front of them that made them jealous and afraid. They were afraid. Damn it, smelling this makes me want to eat. TSK, TSK. Smelling the meaty fragrance, Lin Rei touched it subconsciously and couldn't help but laugh. However, his words were unmistakably accurate, and they rang out clearly in everyone's ears. At this moment, everyone stared at Linley with strange looks in their eyes. F*CKU, you're hungry, hashtag at hashtag asterisk. F*CK, I can't. I still want to vomit. How am I going to eat meat in the future? Blurg. I'm not going to eat meat anymore. I'm going to become a vegetarian. This is too King disgusting. At this moment, no one tried to hide anything from Linley and spoke directly. At this moment, they had so many guesses. Smelling the fragrance of Zhu Zhan's meat wafting through the room, they didn't have the mood to think about anything else. They just wanted to vomit and leave. Right at this moment, Linley frowned. He raised his head to look at the skies outside. At this moment, he could sense that several martial emperors were hurrying towards them. Sensing that it was them, Lin Rei couldn't help but lock his consciousness on Director Yang, who was standing in a corner and looking at him. Lin Rei curiously knew what was going on. It turned out that he was the cause of all this. When Yishuan wasn't paying attention to him, he actually informed the people of the Sword Sect. It wasn't that he had guessed correctly. Rather, Linley could clearly sense a fierce sword intent emanating from those people, as well as the sword chi that surrounded them. At this moment, they were like treasured swords that had yet to be unsheathed. Their sharpness was restrained, but it was still exposed and exposed. Looking at them, Lin Rei's lips curled into an undetectable smile. Then, he looked down at Zhuge Mingyue and said, "Tisk, someone from your sect is here to save you, but, however, I really want to see if your sect will feel the pain if 5 Emperor Gods die here. Will the other sects take the opportunity to snatch the title of the leader of the 7 sects?" At this moment, Zhuge Ming was shocked. Killing Emperor Gods was already unacceptable to him, but Lin Rei still said 5 Emperor Gods. This made Zhuge Mingyue guess the real cultivation level of the person in front of her. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the Emperor Realm experts arrived in the sky above the 100 Treasures Pavilion. Their Emperor Realm cultivation was exposed without a doubt, and their Emperor Realm aura was fully displayed. Let Zhuge Mingyue go, and the Emperor will spare your life. Otherwise, I will kill you without mercy. A voice like a bright swan in the sky was suffocating. At this moment, the people who were vomiting heard this and were under such pressure. Their faces lit up with joy. They knew that the people of the Sword Sect were here, and their bitter days were coming to an end. Although it was only for a day, they secretly prayed that they would never meet someone like Lin Rei again. They couldn't afford to be hurt. At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue, who was still in Lin Rei's arms, heard that person's words but she didn't feel happy. Instead, she hoped that they would leave quickly, because he couldn't figure out the strength of the person in front of him. He was afraid that not only would they not be able to save her, but they would also lose their lives for nothing. This would be a huge blow to him and the entire Sword Sect. The Sword Sect couldn't bear it, and neither could she. One had to know that the cost of cultivating an emperor god was too great. The Sect didn't have the time and experience to do so. Let's go out and stretch our bodies. Let's see if the Emperor Realm experts of the Sword Sect are as weak as the Danzong Sect. Lin Rei didn't hide his words at all. This stunned Yun Kai, who was standing behind him, and she smiled bitterly. It's you who is too strong, okay? As they spoke, Lin Rei hugged Zhuge Mingyue with his left hand and held a water-patterned folding fan in his right. He returned to his previous elegant state and walked out of the 100 Treasures Pavilion. In the sky above the 100 Treasures Pavilion, there were 4 people and a young man. When he saw Zhuge Mingyue lying in someone else's arms, the young man in the sky looked at her coldly. Stupid bitch, you usually pretend to be cold and aloof, but now you're lying in someone else's arms. Just you wait. After I marry you, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Young man, can you let Mingyue go? If you do, we won't pursue this matter and let you leave. What do you think? Haha, let me go. Hearing this, Lin Rei laughed coldly. Yes, we'll let you go, as long as you let Mingyue go. The elder in the sky replied. Get lost. Do I need you to let me go? Who can stop me from going where I want to go? You want to catch me after I save you? Are you dreaming? At this moment, Lin Rei's words fell into the ears of the 5 people in the sky. Suddenly, they were stunned, and their faces were filled with disbelief. The people in the 100 Treasures Pavilion were even more stunned by Lin Rei's words. F***CK? He's probably an idiot. Yeah, 5 great Emperor Realm experts. Do you think they're like steam buns that you can bully? He's not just like them. He's really an idiot. 5 great Emperor Realm experts. If the 5 of them attack together, I'm afraid the entire Jade City will be reduced to ashes. Lin Rei understood the crowd's discussion. Only he and the people who knew him knew how powerful he was. Raising his head, Lin Rei looked at the 5 great Emperor Realm experts with his divine sense, and a devilish smile appeared on his face. At this moment, the 5 great Emperor Realm experts saw the smile on Lin Rei's face, and they felt inexplicably nervous and scared. However, they were very confident in their own strength. They didn't think that they couldn't defeat this blind young man in front of them. However, sometimes blind confidence could kill. For example, the moment they underestimated Lin Rei, they were already on the verge of death. Yun Kai, you haven't fought since you started learning the new technique, right? Yes. Yes, young master. The sudden question stunned Yun Kai for a moment, but she quickly replied. Yes, as a qualified expert, you have to fight nonstop. You have to challenge the impossible. You have to fight people, fight the earth, fight the heavens, and die without mercy. Stand there. The first task I'm giving you is to kill that young man I hate and take back his storage ring. Understood. Whoosh. After nodding, Cloud disappeared in the blink of an eye, charging towards the target Linley had given her. If that's the case, then forget it. If you go, I won't be able to play anymore. You should just watch. When this is over, we'll go eat. With that, Lin Rei disappeared from where he was and rushed toward the other 4 great emperors with Zhuge Mingyue in his arms. At this moment, Linley couldn't afford to be careless. Although he knew that he was very powerful, he didn't dare to underestimate his enemies in battle, because if he did, the consequences would be the risk of being killed. This was something that he had always abided by since he first stepped into the path of cultivation. Until now, it had never changed. A speck of light dares to compete with the moon? You're courting death. At this moment, one of the 4 old men, who was wielding a halberd, looked at Linley, who was charging towards him with a disdainful look on his face. Chapter 717. The Light of a Grain of Rice. Hearing the elder's words, Lin Rei smiled, but did not say anything. How is that possible? At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue, who was in Lin Rei's embrace, could feel the powerful spiritual energy emanating from Lin Rei's body. At this moment, she was shocked. At the same time, she started to worry for the elders of the sect. Die! Whoosh! Seeing that he had moved, the elder charged towards Lin Rei with the halberd in his hand. Although he was fast, he was still slower than Lin Rei. Beauty, do you think we should kill him directly or play with him for a while? Feeling the elder's powerful aura, Lin Rei smiled playfully and then lowered his head to ask Zhuge Mingyue, who was in his embrace. Am there? Haha, but I forgot that you can't speak. Since that's the case, I'll agree to play with them for a while. With that, Lin Rei did not have the chance to talk to Zhuge Mingyue. Instead, he locked his consciousness on the elder and looked at him. Lin Rei closed his folding fan and immediately activated the star finger. In the blink of an eye, the two of them collided. The halberd and the folding fan collided. Instantly, a shock wave spread out in all directions. The cultivators within 1,000 meters felt as if their souls had been smashed by the thunder god's hammer, making it hard for them to breathe. Of course, among these cultivators, except for those in the Emperor God realm, there were no other cultivators. However, Lin Rei knew that there were ordinary people here. Therefore, he had secretly asked Xiefeng to take care of all the ordinary people in the battle area. He wanted to make sure that they would not be hurt in the battle. Lin Rei knew that he was not a good person, but he had not reached the point where he would kill people without hesitation. Those who had nothing to do with him, he would not kill. As for those who had a grudge against him, he would not let any of them go. This was the creed that Lin Rei believed in. Of course, he did not care what others did. He only knew that a person should have a clear conscience. Bam! The two of them collided. At this moment, everyone was stunned and bewildered. TSK, I didn't expect this little kid to be so strong. He can actually block this old man's sky piercer. Looking at Lin Rei, he couldn't help but become serious. After the collision just now, he knew that the person in front of him was not simple. Just from the fact that the folding fan had collided with his halberd, he knew that if that folding fan was ordinary, it would have been shattered into pieces. Thus, he was certain that the level of that folding fan was not inferior to the weapon in his hand. It could even be even higher. Huh, what, are you looking down on me? Why aren't you going to use your full power? Linley asked. From this, one could tell that Linley's voice had turned cold. Okay, good lad. Upon hearing Lin Rei's words, the old man was stunned. He raised his head and smiled. Then, he said loudly, You're not simple to be able to see that I'm hiding my cultivation base and not using my full strength. This old man is the sixth elder of the Sword Sect, Jinyan. I can feel that there's a suppressed energy in your body. It's very powerful. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Are we going to fight or not? If we're not going to fight, I'm going to take my new companion back. Lin Rei had an inexplicable change in his opinion of the old man in front of him. He thought that Jinyan would be like the others. Jinyan looked down on him because of his low cultivation base. But he didn't expect that Jinyan would be like this. Ugh. As for Lin Rei, the old man was stunned. Then his eyes turned sharp. He separated himself from Lin Rei and retreated. In an instant, he appeared a few meters away from Lin Rei. At this moment, Jinyan's aura changed. It became sharp and obstructive. Previously, he was like a sheathed sword. His aura was restrained and no light could be seen. But at this moment, Lin Rei felt that Jinyan was serious. From the sharp sword aura on Jinyan's body and the serious look on Jinyan's face, Lin Rei knew that Jinyan had started to respect his opponent. Because of this, Lin Rei started to like Jinyan a little. TSK, not bad. You're serious now. Looking at Jinyan, Lin Rei smiled and muttered, This is fun. If an elder of the Sword Sect can't even compare to an elder of the Sword Danzong Sect, then how can the Sword Sect be called the number one sect? Kid, Mingyue is the little princess of the Sword Sect. So, don't have such thoughts in the future. Looking at Lin Rei and Zhuge Mingyue, who was in his arms, Jinyan's expression turned cold and said, Moreover, our goal this time is very clear. Mingyue, we'll send her to you. Although I can feel the terrifying energy in your body, and I might not be able to resist it, I'm sorry, but I can't let you leave with Mingyue. Ugh. Looking at Jian Yun's reaction, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he lowered his head and said, "Your position in the sword sect is quite high. I didn't expect so many people to protect you." TSK, do you still need to say it? At this moment, hearing Lin Rei's words, Zhuge Mingyue's eyes were rolling nonstop. It was as if she was saying, "Hurry up and let me go. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson." However, at this moment, Lin Rei didn't have the chance to do so. He could feel that Jian Yun was using his full strength. He thought that when an Emperor Realm expert released his full strength, the surrounding air would stagnate for a short period of time. "Come, let me see how strong you are when you use your full strength." Looking at Jian Yun, Lin Rei raised his finger and provoked him. At this moment, Lin Rei's face was full of smiles. Try this old man's art of wind and thunder spear." After saying that, Jian Yun moved. Art of wind and thunder spear. Looking at Jian Yun, Lin Rei smiled faintly. Then, he instantly used the silent thunder spear, replacing the long spear with a folding fan. Because it was a folding fan, the power of a spear was greatly reduced. Although the power of the spear was reduced by 20 to 30%, Lin Rei was confident that it would be enough. Lin Rei held the folding fan tightly and started to circulate the silent thunder spear. At this moment, the sound of lightning flashing could be heard from the folding fan. How was this possible? At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue, who was lying in Lin Rei's arms, heard the sound of lightning and felt the terrifying aura emitted by Lin Rei. At this moment, she knew that Jian Yun wasn't a match for Lin Rei. As the daughter of the Sword Sect leader, Zhuge Mingyue was very clear about Jian Yun's strength. At this moment, she was extremely shocked. At the same time, she was also very puzzled. A person like Lin Rei, who didn't have any reputation in the cultivation world, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, after everything that happened just now, she knew that everything that happened before was done on purpose. And the purpose of all of this was just for the fun that he mentioned. At this moment, she was going crazy. She really couldn't understand why she was so unlucky. It wasn't easy for her to escape from the sect. Just as she arrived here, she actually encountered such a thing. She really wanted to see if her 8 characters were in conflict with this period of time. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so unlucky. Boom! Just as Zhuge Mingyue was vexed, she heard the sound of a thunderstorm. Instantly, she was stunned. Then, she listened carefully. Although her cultivation was sealed and her ability was sealed, her hearing was still very sensitive. At this moment, Jian Yun moved. He used the art of wind and thunder spear, bringing along the power of destruction. In an instant, he arrived in front of Lin Rei. Without any hesitation, he aimed his halberd at Lin Rei's head and pierced it. The power of this spear could be said to be as fast as lightning. The spear intent was displayed to the extreme by Jian Yun, mixed with a destructive aura. Interesting. Lin Rei could sense from the halberd in front of him that if he were to be struck by it, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Of course, this was only limited to Lin Rei. If it was any other emperor, they would have exploded long ago. Silent Thunder Spear Art, Silent Thunder Kill. At this moment, Lin Rei saw that the cold light was getting closer and closer to his head. It wasn't good for him to escape. Immediately, he raised his hand and used his folding fan as a spear. He used the Silent Thunder Spear Art's first move, the Silent Thunder Kill, and instantly collided with the cold light. Bang! Buzz what? How? At this moment, Jian Yun, who had collided with Lin Rei, thought that he could use this move to injure Lin Rei as well. However, he did not expect that the moment the two of them collided, his previous thoughts were completely shattered. At the moment when the two of them collided, a destructive aura and an energy that he could not resist was instantly transmitted from Lin Rei's folding fan. Then, the halberd directly entered his body. At this moment, Jian Yun felt as if his heart was being bitten by thousands of ants. The pain was unbearable. Ah! Jian Yun let out a blood-curdling shriek. His voice was extremely miserable. His entire face seemed to have changed into a ferocious one. What's going on? At this moment, the three elders who did not participate in the battle from afar raised their eyebrows when they saw Jian Yun in such a state. They were terrified. Jian Yun was one of the top experts in the entire sword sect. He was even one of the top experts among the elders. But now with just one move, he was reduced to such a state. Although Jian Yun did not cultivate the sword Dao, his spear intent was extremely powerful. They could not understand why this happened. They did not know that although Jian Yun used a long spear and his spear intent was at the transformation stage, they did not know that Lin Rei also used a long spear. Moreover, his spear intent was many times stronger than Jian Yun's. Moreover, in terms of cultivation level, Lin Li was many times more powerful than Jian Yun. Therefore, when Jian Yun was compared to Lin Li, he was like a small child in the presence of a great magus. He wasn't just a small child. This is not how you use a spear. Looking at Jian Yun, Lin Rei chuckled. Then, he took a step forward and grabbed Jian Yun's halberd. Then, he brandished the halberd. Suddenly, a terrifying spear intent was emitted from Jian Yun's body. This Jian Yun, who also cultivated the spear Dao, could feel the spear intent gushing out from Lin Rei's body. At this moment, Jian Yun was enlightened. He finally knew why he was defeated. Feeling Lin Rei's spear intent, Jian Yun realized how arrogant he was in the past. He thought that his spear intent was invincible. At this moment, he was completely defeated in front of Lin Rei. Go back and cultivate for a few more years before coming out. Save yourself the embarrassment. Bang! As he spoke, Lin Li raised his halberd and struck Jian Yun with his spear. His movement was unpredictable like a ghost from the underworld, causing Jian Yun to be unable to defend against it. Jian Yun didn't even have the slightest premonition before he was sent flying by the spear. In the air, Jian Yun's figure formed a parabola and landed perfectly beside his companions. Seeing this, Lin Rei shook the long spear in his hand. His heart was filled with disdain. Then, he raised his arm and threw the long spear at Jian Yun. Whoosh! The halberd turned into a stream of light. Its speed was so fast that it shocked the three of them. They wanted to catch it with their hands. Whoosh! One of them, although shocked, was brimming with confidence. He used his hand to catch the spear, but just as he was brimming with confidence, his hand also grabbed the spear shaft. However, just as he thought he could catch the spear's speed did not decrease in the slightest. It flew backwards with the old man, who was holding the spear tightly. It was only after flying for more than 10,000 meters that the long spear's speed slowed down. Only then did the old man have the strength to control it. Hiss! The appearance of this scene caused the hearts of the other two people to be shocked. They looked at the blind young man with fear. They did not expect Lin Rei's strength to be so strong. When they first arrived, they wanted to suppress him. But now, there was only one thought in their mind. This person, they could not afford to offend him. Lin Rei, who knew the result beforehand, looked at the old man who was 10,000 meters away with a smile on his face. He was satisfied. TSK, I've finally had enough fun. I suddenly feel like eating. Lin Rei touched his stomach subconsciously. What the F***CK? Is he still human? At this moment, although Zhuge Mingyue did not know what had happened, she could feel that the elder sent by the sword sect had been defeated. He had been defeated very thoroughly. Pong! At this moment, a strange sound was heard. Immediately, Lin Rei's attention was diverted. At this moment, Yun Kai was fighting with the young man. Yun Kai was holding a 3-chi long cold light. She stepped on the lotus and stood in the void in front of the young man. She said with disdain, "You've lost." I've lost. How could I lose? How could I? At this moment, the young man's face was filled with disbelief. Yin Kai did not pay attention to the young man. She turned and prepared to leave. But at this moment, killing intent appeared in the young man's eyes. He held his sword and used his footwork. His figure instantly attacked Yin Kai. Bastard! Lin Rei, who was watching the battle, frowned when he saw the young man's action. He was furious, but at this moment he did not hesitate. He used his full cultivation. With his middle stage God Emperor cultivation and the flowing cloud boots on his feet, Lin Rei's speed was raised to the extreme. At this moment, the old man who accompanied the young man also saw this scene. Immediately, his face was filled with disappointment and pain. They had never thought that the child they had watched grow up would become such a despicable person. Die. At this moment, Lin Rei, who had raised his speed to the extreme, arrived behind the young man in a breath's time. Against such a person, Lin Rei did not hesitate. He used his star finger and pierced towards the young man's head. Not good. At this moment, the young man who was about to kill Yun Kai suddenly felt a killing intent coming from behind him. Immediately, the young man gave up the chance to kill and dodged to the side. But would Lin Rei given this chance? The answer was no. Chapter 718. Die. One could see the folding fan emitting a golden light stabbing towards the head of the young man. No. Sensing the aura of death behind him, the young man became anxious and wanted to escape from this place. At this moment, he knew that if he was slow, even if he was slower by a second, he would die. But the truth was he did not have the ability to escape from this comfort of death. Pompu, Kacha. One could see Lin Rei's folding fan entering the mind of the young man without any obstruction. At this moment, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Blood and brain matter mixed together and flowed out from where the folding fan was. How? At this moment, the young man's face was filled with disbelief. His eyes widened and his body went soft. At this moment, the young man, until his death, he did not know how strong the person he had offended was. Hiss! The young man's death served as a reminder to the three old men. They knew that they could not win against the person before them. In fact, they had a feeling that even if Sword Sect Master was here, he might not be his opponent. Seeing the death of a genius of their sect, the three old men could not bear it. But when they thought of the actions of the young man previously, the original feeling of pity disappeared. To a sword cultivator, if he did not have a chivalrous heart and was a despicable person, he would not be able to go far in the future. But the three old men were astonished at the blind young man and the girl who defeated the young man. They had never thought that there would be such a powerful existence by the side of the blind young man. As for the cultivation that Yun Kai displayed, they could feel that she was a middle-stage god emperor. Such a genius should be very famous in this place. But they had never heard of her strength before. Just like the blind young man, she appeared out of nowhere and was unpredictable. Many thanks to young master for saving my life. Hearing the strange sound behind her, Yun Kai turned around. When she saw the young man who died in the hands of Lin Rei, she immediately understood what happened. She then bowed to Lin Rei and thanked him. I've told you before that enemies are unforgivable. Being merciful to your enemies is being cruel to yourself. This is a living example. Looking at the clouds in front of him, Lin Rei's expression turned cold. He reprimanded, "Remember, I will save you this time, but next time, you won't be so lucky. At the same time, I will save you. If you can't kill decisively, then you are all trash to me. The strong are respected, and the unfit are eliminated. Survival of the fittest. This is the unchanging law of the cultivation world." Yes, young master, you're right. It won't happen again. At this moment, Yun Sai's face was filled with respect. She remembered what Lin Rei had said and didn't dare to forget it. At the same time, she also knew that if Lin Rei hadn't intervened just now, she would have died. She would probably be a dead woman by now. In response, Yun Kai felt a lingering fear. If that was really the case, then she had reaped what she had sown. If she had approached him, she would have been able to kill him. At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue, who was in Lin Rei's embrace, also heard his reprimand. At this moment, she suddenly felt that Lin Rei wasn't as shameless as he appeared to be. In fact, at this moment, She even wanted to be by his side and explore the mysteries about him. However, if a woman was curious about a strange man and wanted to explore him, it meant that she wasn't far from falling. Of course, Zhuge Mingwei didn't notice this at all. What she wanted to know was when Lin Rei would let her go. Got it. Seeing Yun Sai's attitude, Lin Rei's smile returned to his face. He nodded at her, then turned to look at the three people. Hey, this person is from your sword sect. Looking at them, Lin Rei couldn't help but mock. You saw it too. Although I accidentally killed him. But, in the end, this matter is still his fault. If he hadn't launched a sneak attack from behind, I wouldn't have attacked, right? So, as he spoke, Lin Rei seemed to have sunk in a deep thought. However, he quickly came back to his senses and continued. So, I'll return this person to you. Whether or not this grudge can be resolved, it all depends on you. As he spoke, Lin Rei waved his hand and fiercely flung it in the direction of the three old men. Whoosh! At this moment, the young man whose head was pierced by the folding fan and hung on the folding fan was flung away by Lin Rei. A figure rapidly shot towards the three old men. His speed was so fast that the three old men were instantly shocked. Subconsciously, they prepared to use their hands to catch him. However, at that moment, they recalled the situation with Jianfeng. For a moment, the three old men hesitated before withdrawing their hands. Just like this, the three old men let the corpse fly across the sky and into the distance, ignoring it. When this scene appeared, the corner of Lin Rei's eyes twitched violently. Then, he helplessly shook his head. TSK, TSK, TSK. I didn't expect you to be so disrespectful to the corpse of your fellow sect member. Really? Sigh. As he spoke, Lin Rei sighed. He knew the reason behind this. Therefore, Lin Rei couldn't help but make fun of them. Damn, you still have the nerve. If it wasn't for your previous actions, how could they let the corpse fly and ignore it? In the end, it's all your fault. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Zhuge Mingwei rolled her eyes at Lin Rei. The corner of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. However, because her mouth was sealed by Lin Rei, she could only complain in her heart. Young master, the meal is ready for you. Do you want to go now, or, just as everyone was silent and Lin Rei was bored, Chu Si's voice suddenly sounded. Immediately, a smile appeared on Lin Rei's face. Then, he turned around and said loudly, Okay, let's go now. The world is big, but eating is the most important thing. As he spoke, Lin Rei ignored the three old men and walked towards Chu Si with Zhuge Mingwei in his arms. At this moment, when Lin Rei left, the three old men didn't stop him. It wasn't that they didn't want to, it wasn't that they weren't in a hurry. They also wanted to snatch Zhuge Mingwei, but they didn't have the strength. Especially after seeing Lin Rei and Yun Kai's strength, they didn't have the opportunity to do so. Moreover, when they saw Xiefeng making a move, the three of them felt a suffocating aura from her. They had never felt such an aura from Lin Rei, or even the sect elders and sect master. Even the sect's supreme elders who had reached the godly venerable realm did not have such an aura. If they were afraid of Lin Rei, then they were ashamed of their inferiority when facing Xiefeng. They had already determined from their souls that they were no match for Xiefeng. Just like that, Lin Rei left with Zhuge Mingwei, Xiefeng, and the others. The three old men didn't stop them like they did before. They knew that they didn't have the ability to stop them. As for Xiefeng, after knowing that Lin Rei was done, she withdrew the energy that she was protecting the ordinary people and left with Lin Rei. What should we do, fourth elder? We didn't bring Mingwei back, and Jiantong was killed. If we go back now, I'm afraid we won't be able to explain it to the sect master. Sigh. At that moment, Jianfeng, one of the three sword sect elders who stay behind, frowned when he heard Jianyun's words. His face turned solemn. Aya, what's the big deal? We're not as good as him. If we lose, we'll just tell the truth. Moreover, I believe that even if the sect master comes personally, he won't be a match for that blind young man. Looking at the two of them, Jian San, who was at the side, said indifferently, Moreover, both of you know Jian Tong's cultivation. The sect leader knows as well. I'm afraid, other than the Grand Elder, I can't think of anyone else who can kill him in one move. Let me ask you, how can we fight against such a powerful person? If we can't, then let the sect leader come personally. In any case, the once-in-a-century alchemy competition is in 10 days or so. We'll have to come sooner or later. Why don't we come early? That makes sense. Hearing Jian San's words, Jian Feng's eyes lit up and he said, let's do it this way. Since we can't defeat him, we'll ask the sect master to come personally. Only when he's defeated will he believe us. This way, we'll have a good excuse for our dereliction of duty this time. Okay. Since the fourth elder has agreed, what else do you have to say? Let's do it this way, Jian Yun said with a treacherous smile on his face. TSK, now I'm eager to see the sect master being defeated by a young man. At that moment, under Chu Si's lead, they arrived at a place called the Cloud Room. Then, they followed Chu Si to their reserved seats. This was the best place in the Cloud Room, and it was next to a window on the second floor. Everyone sat down. Lin Rei looked very relaxed. As for Zhuge Mingyue, Lin Rei had placed her beside him and let her sit alone. At this moment, he was no longer as shameless as he was when he hugged Zhuge Mingyue so intimately that there was no space between them. At this moment, Lin Li had never imagined that not long after he left, the three elders of the Sword Sect would actually join forces to make a fool of their superior, the master of the Sword Sect. At that moment, Lin Rei was very calm. However, in this calm moment, his two wives, Bing and Ying, appeared in his mind. Sai, I don't know how they are. With their cultivation, there's probably no one in the outer god realm who can hurt them. Moreover, with the three ghost kings, they should be very safe. Time passed by slowly. In the face of Lin Rei's silence, no one dared to say anything. As a result, everyone fell into silence. Young masters and young ladies, this is the wine that you ordered. Please drink it first. The dishes will be served soon. Wine? When the waiter's voice rang out, Lin Li, who had sunk into silence, immediately woke up when he heard the word wine. He immediately released his divine sense. When he saw that there were 5 jars of wine on the table, Lin Li did not say anything and directly grabbed a jar of wine. He then raised his head and began to violently gulp down mouthful after mouthful of wine. Gulp, gulp. The silent atmosphere was broken by this sound. Have you heard? The disciple of the Alchemy Guild's President Liu, Fairy Bai Yi, seems to have broken through to the Emperor level. Moreover, the guild announced that she will participate this time. Yes, Fairy Bai Yi. She's a fairy-like existence. It's really an honor for us to be able to see her. TSK, honor? Why don't you take a look at your appearance? It's like a joke. If Fairy Bai sees your ugly appearance, I'm afraid she won't be able to sleep at night and will be so scared that her furnace will explode. At this moment, the topic of discussion reached Lin Rei's ears. In an instant, Lin Rei slowly put down the jar of wine in his hand and listened carefully. Although he didn't think highly of the Emperor-level alchemist, he knew that a woman in front of him could persevere. After all, concocting pills was not an easy task. It was extremely hard work, and there was often the risk of cauldrons exploding. Most women valued their appearance the most, and the risk of cauldrons exploding was that they would be disfigured. Therefore, Lin Li was interested in this. If a woman could persevere until she reached the Emperor level, it meant that she had a lot of potential. Sai, forget it. If there's a monster in this world, I'm afraid Fairy Bai is one of them. She's more than 800 years old this year and is considered a junior in the cultivation world. To be able to become an Emperor-level alchemist at such a young age, TSK, who else? Who else? Oh, Emperor level, 800 years old? Hearing this, Lin Rei frowned and a smile appeared on his face. Lin Rei guessed that Fairy Bai was flirting with Zhuozhuo before, but after hearing this news, he was sure that this woman was very likely to be comparable to his adopted daughter's constitution of the god of medicine. Lin Rei was full of curiosity about Fairy Bai. He even had an impulse to dig up the Xuanzong sect immediately. At this moment, Lin Rei was indescribably excited. Thinking that there would be another powerful alchemist in the Xuanzong sect, he was even more relieved to leave in the future. "Oh, what's wrong? Are you tempted?" Evil Phoenix, who had been watching Linley smile the entire time, guessed correctly. He knew that upon hearing this, Linley would naturally be tempted. "TSK, you know me best, Siefeng." Looking at Siefeng, Lin Ray smiled and said indifferently, "I usually won't let go of such a talented person. Besides, alchemy is one of my few strengths, so I should be confident that I can dig her up and make use of her." "Oh, you are so confident." At this moment, Siefeng couldn't help but mock Lin Ray's words. "However, I have to say the ugly words first. Although you are confident, if you don't succeed, wouldn't it be a real slap in the face? If that really happens, then your illustrious reputation as the Sect master and the strongest expert of your generation will vanish just like that." "What? The leader of a sect?" At this moment, Zhuge Mingyue, who was sealed by Lin Ray, heard Siefeng's words, and her eyes widened in shock. He knew what it meant to be the master of a sect. When he thought of Linley's strength, he couldn't help but guess how powerful the sect the Evil Phoenix was talking about was. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.